So when you talk a budget about 300 million, as far as Dominicans were concerned, that was a lot of money. But yeah, you're talking billions, you know.
Yes.
Billions. You got to get used to it. Billions you're talking.
I mean, and we can go back in the days of Eugenia Charles as Prime Minister. We're hearing something like 300 million.
300 million.
400 million. And we never envisioned to see or to hear that we would have prepared a budget talking about the billions.
But even when you're talking billion, the international airport is costing over $1 billion. You know?
Yes.
And I even heard that the airport is 40% complete. You know?
Yes, and I was happy to hear the Minister of Finance making mention of that. But as we're here, let us just tell listeners that we have also another person in studio with us. I just want to say good evening to him. Good evening to you, sir. Are you hearing us?
Well, good evening, Cecil. Good evening to the brain. You know, brain, long time we have not seen in that kind of atmosphere. Good evening to all our listeners, Cecil. Cecil, you literally rooted me out of the comfort zone on a Sunday night. You know, I would not normally be here. Mm-hmm. You know, I would be doing something else. You know, like preparing for tomorrow morning.
Yes, but it's also important, though, as we speak as individuals, who found ourselves, you know, at a time in our early days, following political issues and political events, and following what governments were doing in those days. So we are very much privy as grown adults now to be able to speak on what we saw, what we heard from the Minister of Finance on Friday.
Well, yes, Cecil, I think we should put into perspective the proposed budgetary expenditure and the budget for government. I can see, you know, a number of things that are taking place here. Brain is the elder citizen among us this evening, and our listeners there would be listening as well and know that a number of programs, a number of projects taking place now should have been done 60 years ago, and they are only now being done.
I like that. You know, let's go back. One of it was the international airport. The international airport should have been built 70 years ago. We have heard several governments, and I like the point that Ronald Charles made. We heard governments in the past, and we are not talking politics. We're talking historical factors, things that are real. So 70 years ago, we would have heard government pleading or making a plea, that's a better word, making a plea to build an international airport. And we have seen people done feasible study according to them, and we have seen these feasible studies have not materialized any international
well, let's call them. The feasible studies were done in the Bells area for an international airport. I know they went to the Grand Savannah area in Salisbury. Another study was done there for the international airport. I know during the time they were even talking about Portsmouth. I know there was the area of Kalibishi, that area, I can't remember its name, for the airport. And I know, for instance, in recent time, during the time of the United Workers' Party, in fact, over $140 million was borrowed at over 14% for an international airport.
Wasn't the international airport marked some time ago, many years ago, in Portsmouth?
Well, I mentioned that down in Portsmouth by the Cabrits, yes.
There was a proposal, you know, to build the airport starting in the area where the current Kempinski is and go across at the back of Portsmouth all the way towards Bonn in that area. You know, that's one of those sites, you know, that were explored. Then you had an area of La Plaine, you had the area in Warner, you had the Penrice area, and the Crumpton Point. Several studies have been done or were done in the Crumpton Point, in that general area where it is now, you know, it is now being developed. And as we said, that it is 60 years. If we go back to the writings of Dr. Lennox Sonny Church, you know, the person, our local historian, and he has a lot of writings on that, a lot of commentaries, and he's done a lot of research, and we can see that we can go back 60 years, at least 60 years, when an international airport project was being spoken about. We can always talk about a marina a marina in Portsmouth. You go back to Shackleton Cox, Sunday Island, and a number of development and proposals that came for that area in the area of Portsmouth, and they all mentioned a marina. That was before I entered high school. I left high school 50 plus years ago. Well, not maybe 50, but 40 plus years ago I left high school. But long before I went into high school, they were talking about that, and we're talking about geothermal energy.
But Ronald, before you go to the geothermal, there was a big proposal during that time, and Patrick John, with the Sunday Island.
Yeah.
Down in the Portsmouth area. That Sunday Island was supposed to be a freeport area. One of the projects was a marina, was part of the Sunday Island project. So a lot of that has been discussed before.
And it's important that we make mention of those things, Ronald and Brain, because the Lakou deals with the historical aspect. And so we look at the graduation of Dominica from the Lakou. And now hearing the talk and hearing the discussion, better word discussion, on the issue of the international airport. That's just one we are talking about, because we are going to look at a few others that as Ronald rightly said, that if they're taken steps in the development of Dominica some 50, 60 years ago, I mean, today we would not be speaking about an international. We might have been speaking about the expansion of the international airport.
Not only that,
improved international
but
airport.
Even before Ronald come back, we had the situation with the Depot Harbour. The Depot Harbour was supposed to extend itself from right Foncoley right across by Huxley, which was right down to Public Works where it is there. So it would not have been the Depot Harbour that we have now, but it was proposed to be a very large infrastructure development, which never really materialized. We never reached to that area.
And so today, you heard on Friday from the Minister of Finance that the airport is 40% finished. And then has given us some information as to the terminal, what is now prepared, what they're about to do. And it speaks volume of the graduation now of Dominica, because we are now going to, once upon a time, Dominica, I think, would have been the last country to have night landing, while every other country in the region had night landing.
And the interesting thing about that international airport is that you're going to have what is known as underground, to move from a tunnel. You'll be driving under the international airport.
I was very much impressed.
With a tunnel which would take you from Wesley.
It's going to take you from Wesley to Woodford Hill.
To Woodford Hill.
Yeah, so
I was very underground.
I was very impressed, when I finally heard that they have decided, because I know that was an open talk as to whether the tunnel should be built or not. They look at the feasible study, and they saw the importance of building the tunnel that would also link with the international airport. And that speaks about the infrastructure that we have been built. But
Cecil, we have to put that Wesley area, in some kind of perspective. Recall the Crompton Point area. I don't know if you know the area they call Paddock in the Wesley area. Paddock, that is referring, is that area coming up from Woodford Hill Bay, all the way towards Garnet Didier's land. That land was acquired from Geese years ago, I think, under the former Labour Party, as part of the airport development. I have former colleagues who bought land later on from Amor, just in the area where the airport is developing there, and they were told yes, they can build, the body land they could build, but not to put in concrete, because that is airport land. I'm talking about as far away as 1980, in the 80s. Okay, now when we look at the area where the airport is being developed, that used to be bananas, a lot of bananas, a lot of forest. If you look at the transformation that has taken place now, and you're wondering, to appreciate what has taken place, you had to know that area. And I'm happy. I know, I knew that area very well. From bottom west, the big bottom down there, you go all the way back, to Palm Tree, bordering where Sister Alicia had a convent, Ghana Didi, I'm used to live. The Amos had some property there as well. And you come towards the old cinema in Wesley, all the way down to Big Bottom. Tremendous amount of work leveling is done, and as the minister said, 40%, the airport is 40% complete. The leveling of the runway will be completed by the end of the year, and we have always been told that it will require 1 year, after the leveling before it is asphalted and pitched, and tarry and sealed. So it works very well. In the meantime, they'll be working on the facilities, the other auxiliary facilities, the airport terminal, the fire, the air traffic control towers, the hospital or the health center, the fire station, police station, and the whole auxiliary works associated with running an international airport or preparing for an international airport. That will be done whilst the runway is settling in, before it gets it's asphalting. So yes, 40% based on what the minister said, and we do not have any reason to doubt him. Cecil, Brain again, you have to go back to a year or so ago when there was a tremendous some people here who attempted to raise the ire of the people of Wesley, to prevent the project from going in, and the Prime Minister was adamant, that was the site that was chosen by the experts. It was not politicians from Dominica who chose that site. It was the experts who came there. Recall, Cecil, that for a long time there was a small plane that operated out of Melville Hall Airport. When they were doing the research, looking at the Met services there, and the wind direction, the rainfall, the topography, and all sort of things, they use a small aircraft that operated out of Melville Hall, and that was done silently, without any fanfare, without any public information. They were done, and that's the American firm. The American firm Lands and Brown, I think that's the name. They did that study, and they recommended that this is the more appropriate alignment, for the runway. And I am sure Prime Minister Skerritt and his cabinet had many sleepless nights before they really decided, yes, we're going to go along with that, because it was going to disturb, and we understand, a community, a vibrant, a living community. But the national good stood out. The national good stood out, and we've been clamoring and making noise for that, and it is finally here. We got the resources, or at least the mechanism to raise the resources to finance that facility, and so yes, we'll go for it. We will recall as well that the government had to relocate over 200. I have that information. Let me just pick it up. The minister said over 200 houses, had to be relocated. Houses built. 47 houses were built. 31 by government, 16 others individuals built their houses. And that would be in the Joe Burton area, and government took action to compensate people for their land. No, not everybody will be satisfied. Not everybody have been settled, because there are issues. There are family issues from people unaware, or not really unaware, not people, the legal status of ownership for the property has not yet settled. In some respects, I shouldn't say many. In some respects, so
I would want to. Sorry, I'm Ronald. I would want to read what the Minister of Finance said in the budget. He says, Mr. Speaker, since the mobilization and commencement of the construction of Dominica's International Airport, we have made substantial progress in transforming this long-awaiting national priority and a reality. The scale and pace of work in the project are unprecedented, in our nation history. And the airport is now over 40% complete and ahead of schedule. That's important. 40% complete and ahead of schedule. He said that works or civil works are well advanced. Major supportive infrastructure such as 4 large culverts spanning more than 2,000 meters in length, having been constructed to ensure proper drainage. It is anticipated that the leveling of the runway will be completed by the end of December. The end of December, the runway will be completed. That is great news. And outside of that, he said that we have started construction of the passenger terminal. For persons who missed it, he said that they have started the passengers terminal and will soon commence work on the cargo facility, air traffic control tower, and rescue and firefighting services building. What else do we?
Well, no, it speaks for itself. I mean, as Ronald said, 40% complete in mathematics is a high score, 40%, when you look at it in terms of $1 billion project.
Less than 3 years, right?
Less than 3 years. So when you look at the projection and the time frame where we had for the airport to be completed, if 40%, and we are in August, we are just about to go into August, let's say, right? And so if by September, the runway will be completed,
December.
By December.
By end of December.
So we're talking about August, September, October, November, December. About 4 to 5 months from now. All things being equal. That's tremendous.
Ancestral brain, building an airport of that magnitude, that size in Dominica, in fact, any airport, as a matter of fact, the leveling is critical. Remember when Mamo was proposing to do an airport, and she had proposed to bring in the US Army Corps of Engineers, because she figured out, and is rightly so, that the earthworks, the leveling would have taken a tremendous amount of effort and the bulk of the expenditure. And so if they are 40%, into the entire project, and the leveling of the runway going to be completed at the end of this year, it means that a tremendous amount of material, has been bulldozed and moved around. A lot of the culverts, and the minister mentioned that 2,000 meters in length, of culverts, have been constructed to assist in the management of the water in the area. I was looking for that figure, and I got it. To date, over $45 million in compensation has been paid out to 235 property owners, and 47 homes have been constructed, with 31 built directly by the government. So government took action. Actually, government took action, to assist the people who were displaced and impacted. We can say,
but before you go, Ronald, it's important to note that, because a number of people are not, should I say, not aware, or they pretend not to be aware, in reference to the compensation that government has actually paid out to people. 45 million, and not only that, government itself in the Joburton area has gone out and build some 31 homes, you said that, right?
Yes, 31
homes for people who I'm sure another government, another administration would not have looked at building the type of houses in Joburton area.
And 16 others, chose to build for themselves. If you go into Joburton area, comrade, you will see the change, the status, the change in the living condition of the people of Wesley. People who had 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old wooden houses, that their great-grandmother left for them. They can now sit, in the comfort, of a resilient house, with space. I know of a gentleman who was on 3,000 square foot of land, in the airport area. He's sitting on 10,000 square foot of land. He built his house,
And if we
his value has gone up so much,
And if we have to look at the historical aspect of building airports, let's take Dominica. We have had the Canefield Airport being built in our time, and we know maybe in Brain time in the early 50s, the Melville Hall Airport was built. But when the British built the Melville Hall Airport, did they compensate? Did they build for people who were landowners, who had their livestock in those areas?
But I don't know the historical facts behind that. But I can look at one of the airports that was built in the Caribbean, and Ronald made mention of the earthworks. In fact, the Pont Salin Airport in Grenada, during the Revolution, that airport, the earth-moving equipment was brought in by the Cubans.
You had to join an island.
They had to join an island, but most of the earth movement was done by the Cuban engineers. They moved a lot of the stuff. So to move stuff from an airport, there's a high cost, because that is one of the highest costs.
But Brandon, we had an appreciation of the sheer volume of materials that had to be removed when the Venezuelans were here, doing the works on the Douglas Charles, on extending the Douglas Charles Airport. When they extended the runway, we had a fair appreciation, for the volume of earth, that had to be removed. And I do not have the figures with me in terms of the number of ravines, that had to be crossed or bridged, on this present facility, airport facility. But it had to be given a lot of consideration. The hydrology of the area had to be considered. I do not want to think that going into a project of that magnitude, some engineer would just go down there and just run an alignment and say, here we go. And so when it rains and there's a little impoundment of water, a lot of people raise chaos and confusion. But let us say you're building your house, Cecil Brain. You're building your house, you're in the foundation state of your house. It rains, like it rained this weekend there, and the foundation, the trenches get filled with water. Are you going to abandon your property because some rain fell over the weekend, and the trenches get filled up?
Well, not only that, if you do construction work, like for instance building the ministry, when you go so many feet in rows, so you meet water.
But
The National Bank.
Don't go that far. Don't go that far, because some people may not even remember that. Let us just go by this building. I think next to Jupiter. That big building next to
the rural building.
The rural building.
Yes.
When it was being constructed, we saw how much water that was in the place.
The Farrar building as well.
And the Farrar building on Great George Street, Great Marlborough Street.
The other building in Finns Lane.
Yeah, the Charles Pharmacy.
Charles Pharmacy building.
There's water below there.
So you're right, Brain, and you're right.
There have to be pumps placed there.
You have to take all of those things into consideration, because you have natural movements, and so by virtue of the natural movements, water is trying to make itself, it's trying to move, and that will happen.
Studies of hydrology must be done. Movement of water over a period of time. And I know when I went to the airport, I actually saw men as they were drilling for oil. They were going down in the ground, and I know they were doing
at the very beginning.
At the very beginning,
yes,
to make sure.
Remember when they were actually having the groundbreaking? But prior to the groundbreaking, many of us went there to see what was happening, and that was one of the things that they were trying to do, to ensure that they had the right spots.
And they were also geologists checking the soil that they found. In fact, there was a lab. The lab is still there, I think, checking. Ronald, you remember?
Yeah, but any project of that magnitude, $1 billion project, you'd want to ensure that whatever you lay down, you put down, whatever you put down is solid, and so we expect the proper sciences would have been done, and we are assured that it was done. The geology of the area, the hydrology of the area. We're talking about the meteorology of the area. You're talking about the wind, the direction of the wind, and a whole set of things. Scientific parameters would have been considered.
And as you talk about, sorry, Ron, I don't want to break your thought, but as you're talking about the wind, we saw this week that some people again were trying to be malice and not understanding, what actually happens with nature. And they were saying that, hey, look at what we are seeing now at the site of the international airport in terms of the wind movement, and trying to make comparison with the Kenfield airport.
It's incomparable. But be that as it may, Cecil and Brian, our listeners, we've made headway. We've made progress, and we are happy for the progress that we have made. And in my opening statement, I said, that a number of programs, a number of projects that we see now unfolding before our very eyes should have been done 50, 60 years ago. And it took Prime Minister Skerrit and his government, and with the strength and the energy and the wisdom and the ability to reach out and search and find the financing, so that today we can look forward. So maybe in 2 years' time, we have somebody landing. We have a huge fella from London or from Toronto, New York, landing at the Roosevelt Skerrit International. Cecil, I know you're inside there. We are going to campaign. We are going to campaign. The campaign has started a long time ago, but we have to insist. Maybe Prime Minister Skerrit may not want it, but we're going to insist that it should be called the Roosevelt Skerrit International.
But you hear, Cecil, when it comes, and Ronald is very bold enough, many listeners would say, for instance, why that name? Many people would say, why that name? Why not some people would say, why not the Nature Island International Airport? Well, that would be a question whereby many people would say, Roosevelt Skerrit International Airport. Some people will be saying that because remember we have listeners from different size of the parameter, but you're bold enough.
because Cecil, when the history of Dominica would be written, the history of Dominica will be written in maybe 25, 30, 50 years' time. The name Roosevelt Skerrit has to occupy a series of chapters because when you look at every component of our aspect of our history, Roosevelt Skerrit would have made an impression there in education, in agriculture, in leadership, in politics.
Before you continue, it's not a far-fetched thing in naming the international airport after Roosevelt Skerrit. The reason why I'm saying this is in Washington itself, that is Reagan International Airport.
You have George Bush.
Antigua,
you have George
Bush in Texas.
In Texas,
in
Antigua, what you have?
Antigua, you have VC Bird.
In Grenada, Maurice Bishop.
In St. Lucia, I think there's it's not the international airport, the airport that is in Castries.
But some people would say, Cecil, he's too young a man to get the name of an international behind him.
No, but look at his contribution.
I'm looking at
his contribution.
I'm looking at the resilience of the individual, meaning that he has, as we said, over 60 years that we have been hearing prime ministers labeling and indicating that they want the international airport to be built. And he was able to do what it takes, the fortitude to ensure that Dominica gets a better space in terms of flights, to include that of night landing.
Right, to be more competitive, because basically when you build an international airport, you are, in economics of scale, you come competitiveness.
Very.
In that you'll have more access to the island in terms of the volume
and
of persons
what is great about us in our selling for the international airport, and again we're talking about the Lakou. What is great about the international airport is that Dominica is more central. So if our advertisers, if our negotiators are able to sell Dominica as a hub to the rest of the region, you know what I'm saying? I can guarantee you that some of the things that we are talking about will come in faster time than is expected. Yeah. So we are hoping that the people who are going to be responsible to sell, and I heard someone make mention on Facebook recently, they wonder if we have already spoken to Qatar, if we have spoken to South Africa, if we have spoken to, the point is, in the process of building the international airport, there are people on the side, behind the scenes, who are doing what is requested of them when the international airport doors are open, and that will see that.
Your marketing.
Yes.
I think, I mean, we're talking about the budget, and the international airport is the single largest project in Dominica's history, and the other consideration here is that the Prime Minister's Secretariat has always, and the Labour Party has always said, Dominica will get an international airport, and they've gone through several different attempts, in terms of looking to raise the resources. The Prime Minister's Secretariat always said that we will get an international airport, but we will not go to the commercial banks. We will not put a tax burden, another tax burden on the Dominican public. But this is something we are working tediously towards. I've spoken to many friends, different individuals, look at different financing arrangements until you came up with this one, where you got a willing developer, a willing friend of Dominica to come forward and advance the money, advance the resources, with an arrangement to recover, and we are going forward. So it's a promise made and promise kept. We will get it.
And the builders of the international airport, that must be taken into consideration. CR5, I mean, they have that international repute in terms of the construction of international airports. Right. So we have said quite a lot in reference to looking at the Lakou, looking at the making the reference of where we were as a people and how we are now starting to become competitive to the rest of the region, and by extension soon we will see that farmers, the hucksters, hoteliers, right, holiday lovers will be able to advance themselves.
What are the spin-offers of an international airport? Will we only be seeing passengers coming? Will it involve agro-processing? Will it involve the movement of agricultural products to very quickly from Dominica to United States or to France or to England within a specific time? Because one of the bugbears before was the time of arrival of the fresh products on the market. For instance, if you want to ship fresh bananas, ripe bananas, to New York or to Miami, the time frame sometimes could be a problem by transporting per boat.
Brian, you're making a very significant point there, and it is not too early. It is not too early to raise the issue. Government is investing that amount of money, of resources, into the construction of an international airport. It is my view that for the project to succeed, it has to the private sector in Dominica has to come on board. The private sector will be the agency to run the airport and to make it work. By that I mean, you mentioned a couple of them. We have to look at the tours. We have to go out and sell tours for Dominica, get the charter flights to come into Dominica. We can do the mountaineering, we can do the diving, we can do the bird watching, and all the charters, and the representatives of the various airlines. It has to be private sector driven. Government is doing their share. Government is putting on the facility. Government will advertise, but in terms of making it successful, in terms of dollars and cents, it has to be a collective effort of the private sector. They are the ones to come on board and to do what is necessary
and
to promote it.
Good point, Ronald, because even in my day-to-day discussion with people prior to the building of the international airport, I used to give people my disappointment in community people. For instance, the Wesley and the Marigot area. I don't know the fact that there was no international airport, but the fact that was the hub to business in Dominica. I wasn't very happy that the community of Marigot would not have built a sufficient good hotel where people could overnight, and where you could have conferences, people coming from the airport and just go straight into a conference in Marigot, and then when you're through, get back home. And so I think it's an opportune time now with the construction of the international airport that these people should have some faith and confidence in the economy, faith and confidence in the building of the international airport, and now start to come as a community and see how they can now start doing some level of construction. They should not leave it just to the government, because when that does happen, eventually when the government start to do everything, the government is going to take charge of the whole country. And many a times we talk about, scary this and scary that, but many a times, what are we doing on the table?
Well, I agree with Ronald in terms of the private sector and persons within the communities to build a little stover, because basically what I notice even in Dominica now, many people want to have a little place where they can go and stay for the night. If they're coming for the World Krill Festival, or they're coming for some bike fest, or they're coming for other activities on the island, people always want to know. They don't really want to go to a big hotel as such. They want to be able to go to a guest house and to be able to spend 3, 4, 5 nights or maybe a week, to get things done. So people within the area not only thinking of big hotels, but thinking of small infrastructure where people can stay over for a week or two before, they get back right within the area instead of having to travel to Rose.
If we were to, Cecil, I crave your indulgence, if we were to pivot, to a different subject, but be carrying that very same argument into it. Some weeks ago, the Dominican Association of Industry and Commerce, the DIC, they undertook a visit to the Roseau Valley to see to the cable car project and to satisfy themselves, I suppose, that this project, what is taking place there, and to learn firsthand the potential that exists in there, not only for Dominica as a country, but for them as individuals, for their businesses, the tour operators, because as the minister said, the next cruise season they expect to welcome a bumper crowd of cruise visitors to come in. I can see once that facility gets commercial, the kind of business, that can land up in the Bayak area, and with the tour operators, the taxi drivers, Pada Kelly, good evening, Maras Kelly, good evening, the Roseau North and the others, can go and can do business, right? So it is the private sector who have to move the tourists from the cruise ship. It is the private sector who has to move the tourists from the hotels and get them to the various sites, and services, and to keep it going. Because if the tourist doesn't come here, then the facilities, the project, and then will just stay, stay unused. Okay, so you have to promote Dominica. I'm sure government will do their share, but the private sector as a group in Dominica has to take hold of those projects, and to run with them. And the minister mentioned about the strides being made in terms of occupancy, hotel development. He spoke about that, and government's attempt, to promote Airbnbs, the small cottage like occupancy brain. You would just mention in there, because people come. And they may not want to go long all the way to Portsmouth, to Jungle Bay. They only stay around Roseau. They only stay around Kenfield, Massac, Newtown, and then the small facilities, that's what they're looking for. And government has placed money. Government is partnering with those people there, to bring to be able to develop those facilities.
And I'm saying, just want to say good evening to Teresa Fridges. Says good night. Anthony Brong says good evening, his gentlemen, watching from St. Martin. Cassandra Benjamin says good evening to all logged in and listening. Blessed Sunday evening. Ted Sarah, good evening to you. And he's asking a very pertinent question. Private sector, where is their response to the national budget? Yola and John Jules said good evening, Cecil, Breen and Ronald. Very good program. So guys, we are on track, because I am looking. When we speak, I'm looking at where we were as a people.
Let me ask you a question, Ronald. because whilst we're discussing it, I don't know whether you saw what the Chronicle wrote. So whilst we're promoting, let me give you some alternative view and we can respond to that. On Friday, July 25th, 2025, the Minister for Finance, Economic Development, Climate Resilience and Social Security, Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre, will present the 2025-2026 National Budget to Parliament. He will seek approval for an expenditure of EC 1.2 billion, a staggering sum by any standard. But while the numbers may impress on people, the burning question on every Dominican's mind remains: will the budget finally address the suffocating cost of living that continues to cross the average citizen? And that is from the editorial of the Chronicle for Friday 25th, July 2025. So I just want to keep that in your focus.
Well, there is issue I'm bringing, and there is a number of measures in the budget, directed at addressing the issue of the cost of living.
Good.
Let us underscore, and all of us know that. The goods arriving in Dominica, landed in Dominica, they land at a particular cost. All right?
Good.
There's nothing the government can do about it. The landed goods, it's still in the customs. Okay? There are taxes to be paid. There are markups to be added to that. That is where the adjustment can be made. Okay? Now, government has announced a number of matters. Okay, a number of matters. For example, I want to read from the Minister of Finance address, addressing the cost of living. And hear what he had to say. Mr. Speaker, we are fully aware of our citizens' concerns regarding the rising cost of living, and this government has taken firm, targeted action to provide relief where it matters most. One measure we have implemented is the removal of customs duties and value-added tax on a range of essential food items. This policy is designed to ease the financial burden on households by reducing the cost of basic goods that form part of the daily diet of our people. The list of items currently benefiting from these exemptions includes, the list of items currently benefiting from exemptions, customs and VAT. These include chicken backs and necks, chicken wings, cod fish, herring, salted mackerel, milk, butter, cheddar cheese, garlic, onion, split peas, red kidney beans, lentils, green tea, black tea, flour, rice, oats, cream of wheat, cooking oil, sausage, canned sardines, canned mackerel, canned tuna, sugar, pasta, couscous, margarine, cereal for the cornflakes and raisin bran, apple juice, infant formula. Those items there, they are not subjected to VAT or VAT VAT value added tax, right?
But we see the problem that we might encounter in Ronald, is that many times, and I always say so to the government people, they don't promote what they do sufficiently to the public, and so there are a number of people, those items that you're talking about, they would not have known that they are VAT exempted, and so I'm happy that the Minister of Finance was able to do that. But what has to happen is we have to now monitor, even if we have a liberalized society, in terms of we can purchase where we wish to. I'm saying that when you buy, you must make comparison. You must ask questions. So some people may not even know that VAT is exclusive from that of flour.
Just to correct, I'm Cecil. The list I mentioned earlier, they are goods, food items with no import duty, but they are subject to VAT.
Oh, no import duty. Thanks. Yeah,
okay.
No import duty, and that's even better.
So the following are food items with no VAT. The following are milk, flour, rice, sugar, infant formula, locally produced agricultural products, locally produced bread. These these items, there's no VAT on them.
So some of these items, Ronald, we are saying that there is no import duty on them, and also there are no VAT on some of them.
Yeah, those items with no VAT and no import duty. These are milk, flour, rice, sugar, infant formula. There's no import duty. There's no VAT on them.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Okay, and the minister went on to say, continue supporting families across the country. We will be expanding the list of exempted items in the upcoming financial year for a period of 6 months. And those goods exemption for value-added tax are on exemption of value tax on salted herrings, codfish, onions, garlic, split peas, red kidney beans,
Black eyed peas.
Black-eyed peas, lentils, pigeon peas, cream of wheat, cornmeal, oats, luncheon meat, corned beef, canned herring, canned sardines, canned tuna, canned mackerel, cereals, wheat bran, etc., biscuits, unsweetened, orange juice, tomato ketchup, toothpaste, laundry detergent, toilet paper, sanitary napkins. These items, according to the announcement of the minister, they'll be exempted from value-added tax for a period of 6 months. Okay, and there'll be removal of import duty on pigeon peas, luncheon meat, canned ground beef, cereals, biscuits, unsweetened, orange juice, tomato ketchup, toothpaste, laundry detergent, almond milk, soy milk, right? And this will take effect October 1st.
Well, I like what you're saying, and I like what you said, Cecil. The fact about it is that not only must we hear that, but there has to be a level of monitoring and what I would say public education, as you said. So people like DBS, GIS, and the programs that are being done on the different radio station has to educate the masses as to what's taking place, because very often those items have been included in the reduction of duties and VATs, and we do not hear about it sufficiently. Another radio station, other persons can push a propaganda as to the high cost of living because people are not conscious.
I want to agree with you, but I also believe though that we have to get the administration to get its people, to have the onus on its people to ensure that this is done. So, for instance, I see no reason why the people of the custom and textile cannot come to us and to say this is what brown sugar is supposed to be. That's the cost of brown sugar. It should be, because they know that there is no VAT and there's no duty, and they should be able to guide the consumers and to inform the consumers as to what is the buying price that
and not only that, I want to go a further step, that within the shops and the businesses that sometimes does not follow the government policies and programs, there has to be levels of penalty. Because, for instance, if I'm buying a pound of sugar, let's say, for $1 a pound, and I go to a place where it's being sold for $1.50, it means that the person is exploiting me.
You leave it for them and go somewhere else.
So what do you suggest? Do I
leave it for the shopkeeper and go somewhere else where you get it for $1?
But you see, it's easy to be said.
I understand that.
I'm saying what has to be done is the monitoring of these items. I think central government has to now put in place some kind of mechanism to have these officers that are paid on a monthly basis to go out there and to monitor, and not only just to monitor, but to inform the public, even if it means quarterly, to inform the public, hey, this is the price that the businessman out there should sell sugar.
The biggest consumer controller is the individual.
I agree.
The individual. Let us bear in mind as well, Cecil, that Brent made the point. You're buying a pound of sugar, for example, off my head, $1 a pound today. Okay, government has announced all those measures. So you do not expect in October, based on the measures government announced, that the sugar will go up $1.20 a pound. But right? Because the VAT and import duty has been removed on some items. But let's not forget that we are not making sugar here. We are not making corned beef here. We are not making a lot of the items here. They are brought in, and there is an argument that can be made that the prices has gone up even in transit.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Even in transit.
No, Ronald, that is fine. Ronald, that is fine.
Yeah.
That is fine. But there is a markup.
Yeah.
Yes,
Exactly.
And I'm saying that if there is a markup,
Yeah.
that you shouldn't go beyond the markup that you have to sell the goods.
Yeah.
You know.
But we can go back into price control.
No, I know.
No,
I
we're
think
not going
the
back.
world. No,
We can go back into that.
No,
We're moving
The
into-
world is not.
No, liberalization doesn't make
Doesn't.
provision for that. I quite
We
understood.
understand that.
But I'm saying that it's important. It is important to have monitoring officers. So even
Monitoring,
if you're not talking about price control, but you should have monitoring
To
officers to ensure that what central government has given
Is in fact being passed to the
being passed
consumer.
on to the consumer.
Yeah.
You know.
But okay. But what we are underscoring here, Cecil, is that government has listened to consumers. Government
Yeah.
is very aware. They shop, the ministers, they shop in the same supermarket, like you and I, and they can feel the pinch, of the price of sugar, rice, and flour, and those things. And they've acted to assist. Okay, so we have to recognize the fact that government has responded in a very positive way, to help control or better manage the cost of living within their capabilities on island.
Right.
Yeah, on the island. So that is something we have to.
And I'm very happy that the government has listened, because many times I myself am a consumer of goods, and other families of mine, friends of mine, we consume the goods, and therefore that's one of the crimes that I've been hearing from the consumer, and the consumer are the voters. They are the ones that vote. They are the ones who, when they get their salary, realizes, well, my dollar cannot buy what it used to buy. And therefore, I'm very happy that in this year's budget, the Minister of Finance, the Prime Minister and government has listened to the cry of the people in terms of the cost of living and the value of their money when they go to the supermarket to buy the goods and services, because they don't produce it. So that's a very, very important part.
And Ronald, what is important? Many times in the past, Ronald, you would have heard when past administration or administrations, you would have heard from the public that this is a election budget.
Cecil, I have a note there. I came to ask you if there's an election in the making.
Quite clearly it has been indicated that there is a confirmation process that has to start in September for 12 months, and the probability based on what happens that government can go back to Parliament and extend by another 3 months. All right, so we know within now and the next, let's say, 15 months. I'm just using 15 months as a yardstick.
Cecil, there's only one person with the powers, the right to call election.
I agree.
There's one person.
I agree to
The
that.
Constitution provides one person who that privilege, that power to call it. But I'm
saying
making the point.
I'm making the point
Right.
that when you hear all these goodies being announced,
it's normally
when you go in the streets of Roseau with the Lakou, and more so we're talking Lakou, right? We have to make the politics Lakou-wise. That when you go to the little highways and byways in the little coin, you hear the people say, but Brain, what happened to all those goodies? You mean election coming, man? You're not hearing that said, because you're going into Lakou, you're going from you're going to Tarish.
Yeah, let us hear one of the the announcements that could provoke, that discussion. The housing.
Yes.
The housing, and I wish I was 30 years younger and to benefit from the announcement that the minister made.
Let's say the housing bonton. That's coming.
The housing bonton.
The housing bonton.
Okay, and the minister made the announcement. I'm trying to get the appropriate area, but anyhow, we'll get it. He said that, Mr. Speaker, 16 families will benefit in August from homes in Eggleston, Roseau South.
That's your area.
Roses
That's your
House.
area.
Okay, but last week they delivered 21 homes to deserving individuals in the Scottshead area. Okay, 21 homes. And government continue to deliver houses across Dominica. The Housing Recovery Program made a significant impact by building and delivering 382 resilient homes and resolving land ownership issues for 172 families. Cecil Brain, I wonder, when people say nothing is happening in Dominica, no wonder they say, they want to think that election is coming. But when all those activities are taking place, it is not an overnight thing. Things have been done, have been planned. The resources have, has to be raised. Mm-hmm. You have to put systems in place. You have to identify the beneficiaries, get the contractors, identify the land, the resources, etc. And then things will get done incrementally. Okay, we are talking about houses in Scottshead, in Point Michelle, in Eggleston, in Grand Bay. We are all aware of the village that I saw develop before my very eyes within a few short years. That's the new Petit Savane. Within a few short years, we had a whole community develop, in Dominica. We're talking about Kenfield East, you're talking about Bath Estate, you're talking about Emzol, you're talking about Roseau North, you're going to Kenfield, you're going to Maho, you go into
Dailies,
La Plaine, Monjon, Grand Fond, Cassibros, Saint-Sauveur, Kalinago Territory, even Marigot,
Vickers,
Woodford Hill,
Chances
in Portsmouth, and
Cotton Hill
Glanville in Portsmouth, Glanville in Portsmouth. You go Platma Pier in Collyho, and you just come down the road, and you can see things are happening. And the real area I'm looking for, and I'll get it, Cecil. I think it is called government placing $10 million at the Government Housing Loans Board,
mm-hmm.
right, for public officers and police officers at 2% interest rates, 2%. When in early 1990s, 1991 thereabout, mm-hmm. I benefited from a mortgage loan from the Government Housing Loans Board. It was at 9%, Cecil. At 9%. It took me 12 or so years to begin paying more on the principal than on the interest. And today we have the Government Housing Loans Board. Government putting first resources there to loan out to public officers and police officers at 2% interest rates. Just begin to think of the amount of savings that people, public officers will be making. And if the principle of the Government Housing Loans Board remained, you will get 7 times your annual salary as a mortgage. So for people like you, where your salary is $10,000 a month, you're making $120,000 a year. 7 times that you can qualify for Housing Loans Board. I'm just joking,
almost $750,000 million.
I'm just joking.
You can be you're right. You
Project,
can build a house of almost 300.
But if you take 2 public officers,
yes,
a husband and wife, right? Mm-hmm. They're making $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's $6,000.
Mm-hmm.
$6,000 a month.
Household.
By 12, that's $72,000.
Yes.
Coming into the household. They can get 7 times that amount of money to build their house.
Wow.
And that is because Roosevelt Skerritt, some years ago, he went in and changed the laws. He did not only change the laws to increase the quantum of the money, he also opened up who can qualify. Before Roosevelt Skerritt came in, it was only established public officers and police officers, only established staff. But Roosevelt Skerritt changed it and allow people who working in public works, who working in gardens, who working in agriculture, who working in the hospital as non-established workers. they can qualify and benefit from that. So I'm trying to get that I have so many pieces of.
But while you're getting your document, it's very interesting to note also that persons who squatted on government's land also benefited from getting the land in certain areas at $1 a square foot, especially in one of your constituents, Cecil. One of your constituents, Fonkole, Tarish Pit, Gota, Yampis. A lot of the squatter settlements, for a fact. Fonkole, where your father come from.
Fonkole,
they have benefited.
Once upon a time, you'd walk from Woodbridge Bay and look up to the north, and you would have only seen wooden small houses, which was a prime real estate to many. And Roosevelt Skerritt came in and decided that, I'm going to sell you a square foot of land for $1.
Cecil, I got a document, and I was relaying. I was talking about that on my Facebook page. Talking about my own experience raising a mortgage loan, and some fool, on the West Coast responded to me, tell me I'm talking nonsense. I'm talking about my experience at 9% interest rates. And he telling me I'm talking nonsense. Okay, here is what the minister said, Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, in our continued efforts to make home ownership more accessible and affordable, particularly for lower income earners, the government is introducing a special housing loan facility targeting public and police officers. An initial sum of $10 million will be allocated to the Government Housing Loans Board to provide low-interest housing loans to public officers earning a basic annual salary of $45,000 or less. These loans will be offered at an interest rate of just 2%, significantly easing the financial burden associated with home ownership. 2% less. And government is capitalizing the facility with $10 million. Okay, so when we look at it, the average civil servant can qualify. You're making $45,000, that's less than $4,000 a month. You free 5, 3,000, free 5, 2,5. You qualify for a mortgage loan under that facility. On top of that, apart from qualifying at 2%, a grace period of 6 months will also be applied, giving beneficiaries time to advance construction before repayments begin.
And that's important, eh?
Isn't that a government that is considerate?
That is very important. So while you're doing all of this thing and you have this loan, you have a 6 months grace period before you could even start paying off the loan.
What exists
in the banks?
What exists
as soon as you get the money?
What exists right now is that I mean you'd get a $400,000 mortgage loan, from the credit union, for example. You have to pay $3,500 a month, whatever it is. They will give it to you in installments. Your foundation, for your superstructure, for your roof, for your plastering. From the first disbursement in the foundation, maybe $40,000-$50,000, you have to begin paying the $3,000 a month.
Yes, that's correct.
And this facility is saying
from the first tranche you have to pay.
And this facility is saying that you have a 6 months grace period. In that 6 months, you can draw down the entire mortgage if you have good workmanship. Okay, and even go into your house, and enjoy your house before you begin.
I want to make people know, Ronald, as we are speaking, these are people who came from the Lakou, and they have graduated. And that's the importance of the Lakou program. It's not about just telling us of our own experience. It also helps nationally to make us understand who we were, where we are now, and where we can be tomorrow. So basically, Ronald, when you're hearing that government is saying 2%, they're giving the bank, they're giving the housing board loan 10 million EC dollars to give to you at a 2%.
Very interesting.
And you can build a house maybe up to $250,000, $300,000. A good house.
And I told you about my experience, 9%. There were colleagues at forestry with me who told me, Ronald, but you lucky boy, I am at 11%. I am at 11%, and that was in the early 90s. And because government capitalized the Government Housing Loans Board at the time, after me, long after me, you know, in the years coming, government capitalized the Housing Loans Board and force interest rates down. Government could not go to the bank and tell the bank, drop your interest rate. They could not do that. But government created their own facility at the Government Housing Loans Board and at the Aid Bank, you know, with a specific interest rate, which caused the commercial banks and the credit union to also drop their interest rates.
Yes.
Very interesting.
So places like Fokole, the Lakou, you know, can develop, you know, and Yampis and Tarish, you know, can come of age.
I think, Ronald, we need to focus a little bit on that in reference to the Lakou program. All right, when we first heard, or we first knew, not heard, but when we first knew of those areas, the gutter, the Tarish pit, the stock farms, you know, the Fonkole, these areas we all knew that no one wanted to go and reside. People classify Fonkole as the Vietnam.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that designation, Vietnam.
Nobody wanted to reside there because this was an area that everyone was fearful about.
Yes.
Gutter, by the virtue of its name, nobody wanted to reside there. So it took the same poor people from Fonkole who didn't have an opportunity to live.
Yes.
You know. A safe life or better life. They found themselves having to squat those areas, and Roosevelt Skerrit coming into power many years later, 40, 50 years later, you know, realized that these challenges of these people in the Lakou, how they wanted a better life, and in those days, Ronald and Brain, we remember that the system made it in such a way that these people would not be able to apply for water. They would not be able to apply for light, for electricity. Why? Because the property was not belonging to them. They were squatters.
No, but one of the things we have to bear in mind as well is the transformation of these Lakou areas, because we made a lot of fuss about the pit latrine.
Yes.
Many people in those areas had no toilets. And
no running water.
And no water. So with the transformation of those areas and the introduction of latrines, many of those persons were able to find access to having a toilet within their homes, because a toilet was a big thing.
But Ronald, just imagine you have 3,000 square foot. Just listen, 3,000 as a basic. You have 3,000 square foot of land. You can build a good enough, comfortable home with a 3,000 square foot of land, and that land value, let's say in the Fonkole area, for sure,
has gone up.
Land would have been at the value at $10 a square foot. So that is $30,000. So they have saved some $27,000, and that's amazing.
Certainly, you're making a very significant point there, you know, because former senior minister Osho, he has the figures at the tip of his fingers. Will tell you how many, when they came into government, how many thousand, 25 plus thousand houses in Dominica, the housing stock needed repairs, some form of repairs. How many thousand needed extensive repairs? How many thousand needed moderate repairs? And government went about assisting people, a window, a door, you know, putting running water in their houses, whatever it is. And it moved to this squatter settlement program, where people who have been settling on government lands, you know, for generations. He talked about the Lakou, people who live in Roseau, you know, who went up to Stock Farm area and settled and squatted up there. Government was able to come under Roosevelt Skerrit, you know, to offer them those lands, very prime estate.
Just hold your thought. Someone's on the line. Good evening to you, caller.
Just here, good night.
Good night to you, sir.
Evening.
All right, cool. What about a person not working for 1,500? Because I heard they talk about 3,000, 3,005, 2,005. So I'm wondering, what about a person who work for $1,500 a month?
In the government service? You're talking about in the government service?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So I was just wondering if those people is qualified for a loan to build a house and how much they would be able to get. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So it's easy. 1,500 a month. How much is that? Brain, you're the mathematician. How much is that a year?
560, 12 ones 12, and about 18,000.
18,000 a year?
18,000 a year.
The person can get from the Government Housing Loans Board 7 times 18,000. Do the calculation.
7, 8.
Okay? 7 times 18,000, based on the existing legislation governing the government housing loans board. You get 7 times your annual. So if you're making $1,000 a month, say $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 a year.
12,600.
Yeah,
we can say that.
Okay.
So the person get that amount.
No, $12,000 a month. $1,000 a month.
Right.
That's $12,000 a year. You can get
by 7.
7 by 12.
That's
$84,000. You can get that.
Right.
Okay, so whatever you make a year, you based on you're a public officer.
Multiply by 7.
Multiply by 7, you qualify. Okay, you'd have fallen well below the 45,000 limit on that particular facility. Yeah.
And that's important, to
inform the
and that's why we are seeing our people they are graduating from the Lakou now into more self-sustainable
houses,
resilient
homes.
Yeah, so we're saying that the people who live in the Pong area in Roseau and who gravitated towards stock farm and settled on government land maybe for generations too.
Yeah.
When this government came, Roosevelt Skerrit, in his goodness, his Christian heart, regularized them. There's prime real estate property that was sold to the people at $1 a square foot.
I like to use Funkolo, You know why? Because you can you can literally walk through the Woodbridge Bay and just look up. And you're seeing, when you go back and you look at 45 years ago, it is a total different, and the value of the land now. Yeah. People building pools in Fokole, that's imagine.
So here we go. We're talking about creating generational wealth. So the person who now has the 2 apartment in his basement renting, and he living on the top floor.
Yeah. He
has 2-3 children. He would have begun creating wealth for them. And that is made possible. That was made possible because Roosevelt Skerrit and his government, they saw that they had that foresight, to make those lands available to people, so they can. And interestingly, Cecil, we should say through that government appointed an attorney in the Attorney General's office at the time just to deliver titles, for those people, I remember hearing a long list of names read on DBS radio. Cecil Joseph, Hartley Adams, Ronald Charles, so and so come report to the Attorney General's office, and that was the time they were dealing with their titles. It is repeating itself now. Government has appointed somebody now, to deal with the houses that government building for people. So you've begun to create generational wealth for your people. And that is critical, to our development.
And if we want to go back, we want to go further. The Georgetown area in Portsmouth. There was a guy I remember before was always calling about Georgetown. Now Georgetown is a total transformed area.
Let me ask you a question there. Whilst you're on the question of housing and improving the housing stock, as it relates to titles, where government has actually appointed an attorney to look into the areas of title. To me, I heard the Minister of Finance addressing the situation of titles for persons with houses.
Yeah.
What's the situation with that? Rona, what did he see in relation to titles for people who have houses, or probably in government houses, or like, for instance, let's say in the Bellevue, Chopin area and those areas? What is the situation? Are they going to be getting titles?
Government, as I said a while ago, Brain, government has appointed another state attorney, to work on that, and that's all the person is doing, to deal with titles. So the people at Bath Estate, in the apartments, the people at La Plaine in the apartments, the people at Sandy Sauve and Castle Bruce in the apartments, there is somebody government has appointed in the Attorney General's office to deal strictly and specifically. That's all the person the attorney will be doing.
And Ronald, looking back, and you have to think of getting titles. You know how much that cost?
Yes.
You have an idea how much that cost?
Quite a cost.
You know what I'm saying? And the government at this time is willing to hand all of these things to the ordinary man who were raised in the Lakou, who felt that at once upon a time that nobody considered them. Today,
they're being considered.
They have been not just only considered, they have given They have the wealth.
Because when you own a piece of a real estate of your country, you are being empowered, you know. So when you have a house and you're getting your title for your house, you are being empowered. You have a piece of the real estate. You have a part of Dominica. You can claim that you're a Dominican with a part of the country. Very important.
Yeah,
Very, very important.
that was one of the significant areas, that the minister mentioned. We have Cecil, for example, the geothermal, the geothermal plant in the Roseau Valley, and whenever I hear geothermal, I'm thinking of the Calypsonian who sang 2 years ago, "It's a Lie." He sang this song. He lost till he sang that song. It's a lie. We see it developing in front of our very eyes, and we are told everything is on schedule. And within months of today, we're talking today, by the end of the year, Dominica will be on the national grid, or geothermal will be added. Geothermal power will be added to Dominica's national grid within months.
May I ask you, my comrades, what evidence do we have? Have you been seeing any works taking place?
You see, people.
No, I'm just asking you. What are you saying?
Some people are actually driving from Bath State, or some from Central Roma going down to Bath State, going into the Silver Lake area, into the valley, and not recognizing what is actually happening.
What's happening there?
Yes, but there is evidence on the ground in the brain. If you go up to Loda, if you're looking for evidence, the evidence began unfolding itself many years ago, when the test wells were drilling. Remember that famous emergency that went out over a radio station. Loda was on fire a few years ago, and that was just the steam coming from the wells, and in the interfacing with the moonlight. and there was a big uproar, Loda catching on fire. There was talk about drilling diagonally across Loda into the boiling lake, So the evidence began developing years ago. But if you go to Loda today, you will see the plant. You will see the plant under almost complete. All the machinery is already on site. And if you go to Loda, to Roseau Valley, as Cecil is saying, there is a construction crew in the Bath Estate in the Bath Estate area, doing the trenching. They're cutting the road, and because the power lines, a lot of it will be passing underground. So they're making it resilient underground. So they're digging the trenches, to put the conduits and those things there. So there's evidence even as close as Roseau, whilst the bigger activity is taking place in Loda.
Okay, so these trenches I'm seeing when I'm traveling, even because I noticed that they were climbing up the back road in Santa Roma.
That's right.
That's correct.
Right.
I saw quite a number of persons there digging
a number
and putting the
of
pipes.
a number of people are passing through, and they are not aware as to what is happening.
Well, yeah, I wasn't aware until I stopped and asked. I thought it was water that was being,
and that is the problem I have, with that of central government and its people, in terms of promoting what is
taking place.
This is a huge other capital project that is ongoing, one that we have been speaking about a long time ago in reference to energy.
Yes.
And today we are actually seeing unfolding in our eyes. We have seen the lines that have been carried from the Loda area now into the Domlex
to the grid in Fonkole.
To get into Fonkole, to allow us to be on the grid.
Yes.
And by January, February of next year, we should be seeing the difference in energy bills.
The energy. Very interesting. Because that is important. Because you see, as those things are taking place, I'm saying that there should be a crew taking pictures, putting it on the television, putting it on so that people can see. Because one of the things that I find now is that social media is very, very present in our environment. And so people will go and take selfie and do a lot of negatives. So I'm saying that while those things are taking place, actually, selfies could be taken, things could be taken to show, well, look, the geothermal is here. That's what we're doing. These are the lines being drawn. That's where we are. And so, the information, the communication is important, both virtually and horizontally, so that the masses can see what's transferring, what's taking place, because a lot of people are pushing a -5 as though nothing is happening. So we need to inform the public on a regular basis.
I want to quote from what the Honourable Minister said as he presented in Parliament. Mr. Speaker, with regards to the Roseau Valley 10 megawatt geothermal power plant, I am pleased to confirm that construction of the power plant is on schedule. The turbines, generators, pipelines to the geothermal wells and cooling system are on site, and installation works are progressing. Testing of the various components of the power plant will commence in October of this year, with commissioning planned for the end of December 2025. To support this shift to 100% renewable energy and enhance efficiency, we are upgrading our transmission network at a cost of $116 million. Starting with a resilient Hurricane Category 5 rated system connecting the Roseau Valley to Fokole. This includes 3 new substations and 18 kilometers of underground and overhead lines funded through a World Bank loan and Global Environmental Facility grant. Work has begun on the Padu, Trafalgar and Fokole substations, with key components to become operational by late 2025. Additionally, and those people who frequent Astafan's warehouse area, lumberyard area in Fokole, they would have seen it there. Additionally, a $7 million 5 megawatt battery energy storage system funded by the governments of Dominica and the United Arab Emirates was commissioned in May 2025 at Domlec's generation site in Fokole. Okay, so so this has brought 2 major benefits to Domlec and its consumers. Firstly, it has reduced the cost of generation, as Domlec is now able to store power and shut down generators which originally would have been in operation to back up other generators. Secondly, it has significantly increased the reliability of Domlec services, as the company is now able to keep 5 megawatts of power, twice the size of the company's largest generator, on standby to be utilized in the event of loss of generation. All right, so things are moving apace. Things are happening.
And again, I just want to say, I don't want guys to think that we are here speaking politics. Our Lakou program is to really give people the kind of information of what we were. We heard it before from individuals speaking of what their lives were and what they have been able to do with their lives by virtue of what the Lakou was done.
Cecily brought me here and it's politics we're talking,
No.
You brought me here, it's politics we're talking.
No. I want people to have a very clear understanding as to what we are doing.
Yeah.
We are trying to show the transformation of Dominica, what we were before, because there are a number of children who are 22 years, and by virtue of that, they may not even know of the back road, how we actually walk through the bushes to get to the hospital.
But the thing about it, in terms of the transformation of energy, in terms of renewable energy, and using our natural resource such as our geothermal or volcanic potential into transforming that energy source into production to reduce the cost of living, which we never had, because the geothermal, before, we were depending on diesel generated energy and also hydro. But we have added a new one in terms of that energy never goes off. If, for instance, there is heavy rains, then your hydro can be damaged because of the flow of the rivers.
We saw that.
And we saw that happening in terms of a fuel crisis, where your prices go up.
We saw that.
We saw that. So if you have a new form of energy which is always under the ground,
clean,
let's
make sure we say that it's
clean and green. Then it's another alternative energy which we never had before. So in terms of transforming, in terms of the Lakou, we are showing where we are moving from the candle business into the electrical business generated by diesel and hydro to another form of energy which we have just developed in terms of geothermal energy, which is actually transforming energy into clean energy. So we don't have to burn all this fossil fuel in the atmosphere. We have clean energy now, which is generated by our volcanic nature. So that's good in terms of educating the masses.
We're talking about Dominica Nature Isle, and that is a way to exhibit, how natural we are.
Because I noticed that not only that, Dominica is looking at alternative energy. We're hearing even Antigua talking about energy driven by the ocean. At one time,
OTEC.
Remember at one time we had heard about OTEC,
Ocean Thermal Energy Conversion.
So we have moved away from the OTEC business, which Antigua is experimenting with using our natural resources in terms of and we're almost ready now to generate electricity with that form of energy.
Many people doubted that was actually going to happen.
No, they doubted it.
And because of the shift of situations, they took advantage by saying that was never going to happen.
Yes.
And we have seen government very focused, remain very focused in ensuring that they would help those persons who once upon a time had candles.
Yeah, we had candles.
Then later on had one bulb at their home.
Yes.
Later on they graduated from one bulb to two. Ronald, you remember that? From 2 bulbs to an extra room.
Yeah, with more lights.
I have issues with my eyes, right? And that dates back to my years, I'm going to high school.
Using the candle.
Okay, using the candles and the lamp with kerosene. Okay, so that is why even today I prefer light to be shined from behind my back, to what I'm reading. Driving at night, can be problematic for me with the heavy lights coming through. Yeah, but you're right. I went to high school. When I went to high school, we didn't have lights at home. We didn't have lights at our house. We had to. I remember my grandmother, may her soul rest in peace. She used to buy a candle, and she said, "Say Franco, pull Leo swear," and the lamp with the kerosene, was being used for general use in the house. When I came to use them and to do my homework, I think so, at night, it had to be a candle because it was soft on the eyes, So yes, we know about that.
And we're talking about other form of energy. We remember we used to use the fridge with kerosene.
Yeah, the kerosene.
And so I'm saying to make the point that we have seen ourselves graduating, and even when we got light for the very first time, our parents were very careful by saying to us, "Asete, mete off, mete kletia off, asete mete kletia off." Because for them the cost of electricity was very high.
Very high. So if there's
and today we are still hearing about this. So now there is the move, and we are seeing the move within the next 6 months. It's going to materialize.
And I remember years ago under the Freedom Party when they gave Italian interests, geothermal license to explore geothermal in the Soufriere area.
I remember.
On the Michels, they were going to do geothermal, electricity, and a hotel, in that area. Nothing came from that apart from sweet sounding, proposals. Nothing we saw, nothing like that. Then later on, we saw in more recent times, we saw some geothermal company. I remember a gentleman who was a manager of National Bank. He had an interest in that, and government gave them license. Back in the same Soufriere Scott said area. Nothing became of that. Then the Prime Minister saying, that we'll go for it. They tried, got partners, invested significant amount of money. I remember when one particular partner when they pull out Electricité de France. There was a lot of celebration in Roseau. The other side figure out that significant partner, with significant resources, having pulled out, the project would fall by the way. But the Prime Minister and Minister Henderson and Honorable Douglas and then Mr. Blackmore, they kept faith They kept faith in what they were believing, what they believing, and thankfully, other agencies and governments came on board and supported us. Significant amount of monies, have been invested to bring us where we are today. And the point had to be made that no private company would want to have invested that amount of money in geothermal without passing it on to to the consumers. So government spent the money, and they went and researched the resource. Yes, we have the resource. They got some friends to assist in further development of the project. Yes, they took some loans, but we are here today, and we are told that the power will be sold to the distributor at cost price. At cost price, and there's a mechanism in place such that the distributor will not overprice the service.
Yeah, let me ask you something. One of my pet subject is in the field of agriculture. What is happening in agriculture? I heard certain things are happening in terms of the quantum. I just read in the newspaper there, which I have with me, the recent newspaper, and you can build agriculture secured. 29 agro-processors awarded over EC 399,000 in grants. What's happening in the budget in terms of agriculture? What is the Minister of Agriculture telling us? What's going to take place there? How much money is being spent in agriculture in the budget? And where it is that we are heading into agriculture. What was the abattoir? I've been hearing talk about the abattoir. I've been hearing talk about this tissue culture in the Portsmouth area. I've been hearing talk about coconuts being distributed, resilient coconuts, plants being given coffee, plants being given cocoa, plants being given, all kinds of things I'm hearing happening. What is taking place in agriculture? Ronald, have you been hearing anything?
But Brian, you would have heard of government's plans for agriculture in terms of planning to position the sector to provide to contribute $700 million, to the GDP by 2030, and government, they're attacking that development that on several fronts. And they have coined their program looking at the 5 C's. The 5 C's: citrus, cocoa, coffee, coconut, and cannabis. Okay, I paused to think that to talk about cannabis on the national radio some years ago was taboo. You could
to talk about marijuana.
Yeah, in the manner that we are speaking about it there. Okay. Mr. Speaker, and I'm quoting from the Minister of Agriculture program, and there's quite a few looking at livestock, fisheries, farm access roads, incentive package. Okay, we're talking about the agricultural sector in its broadest form, in its very broadest form. In the livestock subsector, right? Government last year. In the past year, government spent $8 million within the livestock subsector. Okay, that included the reconstruction of national abattoir, or rather, that the reconstruction of the national abattoir, $5.1 million facility in Livestock is nearing completion. That is apart from the $8 million. The national abattoir is an amount of $5 million is being spent there in Livestock, and that is nearing completion. Once completed by October of this year, the facility will have the capacity to process up to 1,000 birds per hour and 50 pigs per day, dramatically improving the scale of local meat production. To support the operation of the abattoir, investments totaling $7.9 million are being made towards livestock restoration, including building materials and financing to subsidize labor. To date, a total of 171 farmers have benefited from these investments aimed at building resilient infrastructure for the rearing of pig, poultry, rabbits, and small ruminants. Furthermore, 120 small ruminant farmers have received fencing wire and a total of 124 livestock structures are expected to be completed by August 2025. And you say nothing is happening. In the fisheries sector, Mr. Speaker, the fisheries and blue economy. The blue economy, we mean the sea. The resources of the sea. How can we extract it for our economy? Mr. Speaker, the fisheries and blue economy subsectors are critically important in enhancing economic resilience, creating new investment opportunities, increasing food security, reducing the food import bill, and ultimately creating job opportunities for our people. As part of this effort, government plans to develop the blue economy. We have introduced proposed legislation to operationalize the Sperm Whale Reserve. The bill to enact the Sperm Whale Reserve Act received its first reading in Parliament in June. The government has concluded further consultations with stakeholders and plans to return to Parliament no later than September 30th for the second and third reading. Okay? Minister went on to say that government has invested approximately $5.2 million in strengthening the fisheries sector. This investment included the distribution of engines. So fishermen receive engines, restoration of boat building sites, and the construction of 53 fiberglass boats, 20 of which have already been delivered to the beneficiaries. Okay, so government provide engines, government provide boats to fishermen. We continue. Significant progress has also been made in the restoration of fish landing sites with completion at Bioche, Dublin, while Maho is nearing completion. Work on the Newton, Roseau South, Focole, Stowe, Scotshead, and Saint-Sauveur sites are expected to begin by August 2025. I can tell you here that contracts have already been issued for those works. It's a matter of the contractor going on site and beginning to undertake those works. Government has assigned the management of the Roseau Fisheries Complex to Dexia to create new opportunities in fishing. Okay, so government in the agricultural sector, I'm looking for the specific area relative to the 5 C's: coconuts, cocoa, coffee, cannabis, and.
Well, whilst you're looking for that, I know, for instance, that a certain Dr. Victor Emmanuel, lecturer from Jamaica, Dominican by birth, is now on island, or was on island, looking at the cannabis industry, and a number of consultation has already taken place. I know, for instance, he has met with the Rastas, I think in your community. He met with Rastas to discuss it. I know there was some consultation in the parish hall and 1 or 2 other areas discussing marijuana or cannabis for medicinal use. And that's one of the C's I heard him mention.
So it's Lakou. There were Lakou. Remember the Lakous in Roseau, where people used to clear when the police showed up, for a spliff. Yes. This thing doesn't happen again. And government going full steam ahead. Set up an advisory committee, to advise government on the proper legislation and the other areas of Dominica exploiting, the largesse, that is in cannabis. And they've brought in a special advisor, a doctor, a Dominican, lecturer at the University of the West Indies, and there's another Dominican in Canada. And local professionals who will assist in developing that program. The emphasis now is on the medicinal and pharmaceutical aspect, of the product, as well as the religious culture and religious part of it. Targeting the Rastafarian community. And government sees a tremendous amount of benefit, and rightly so. In exploiting the value or the various opportunities that exist in utilizing the cannabis herb, and we're talking again of agro industries. and government talking about agro-injustice. They're talking about planting chips, teas, CMOS, oils, and candles, and a whole sort of thing. Government juices, pastries, cocoa sticks, and other agro-processing products. Government, only last week, 29 agro-processors received cash grants from government. Last week, we're talking about 29 people from across Dominica receive cash grants that they can go and put back into their business, either to buy equipment or to buy supplies, or to set up their structures, whatever it is. They've established themselves as agro-processors, and they qualify for support. We have passion fruit pulp, which is coming on, a developing industry. A young man from Newton,
yes.
Kyle, taking, putting some hard work.
And he always gives, whenever I speak to him about it, he always gives praise to Ian Douglas for really propelling him, and to give him that additional strength, and even looking at the market. And to create that niche market for him. So you have always given Ian Douglas that proper on that matter.
Yeah, Ambassador Douglas. And then the minister went on to say that for the fiscal year, government will provide equipment and package support to 138 micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises during this fiscal year at a cost of $3.2 million. Okay. And such that I suspect all that money is coming from the CBI, a significant amount of that money.
I'm sure
coming
more
from
than
the
80%
CBI.
of it comes from CBI.
Well, I heard the minister saying almost 40% of the revenue generated comes from the CBI.
From the CBI, yeah.
I heard him speaking about
So that speaks volume.
That speaks volume.
You
What about the area of coconuts? What's happening there?
The area, well, I can provide in terms of intricate details on the coconut industry and I can only speak generally of the policy to promote cocoa, coffee, coconut, cannabis, and the other one. But I know government brought in some a different species, a different variety of coconuts, pest resistant ones. They brought in and distributed to the farmers.
Well, I can tell you there from my notes here, 10,000 coconuts, high resistant coconuts, have been given to farmers. Hear the amount?
Yeah.
10,000 coconuts, resilient coconuts, has already been distributed to farmers.
Just hold that for. Let's see what that person has to say on the telephone. Good evening to you, caller.
Good night, Cecil Joseph.
Good evening to you,
Good
sir.
evening, sir.
Yes, Mr. Ronald and Mr. Brain.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Ronnie. Good night.
Yes, Ronnie.
I would like to keep up with a little bit of dialogue I just heard you speak of, Mr. Charles. You speak
Douglas?
about investing into small business. Just today I get a call from St. Thomas. Somebody's looking for nutmeg cream and they see me online. Are we preparing ourselves, even the people that are doing the manufacturing? Because for the longest while, I've been trying to tell the people that are doing manufacturing, we need to come together more in a cooperative, that our voice can be heard and be more recognized. So, for instance, somebody like you, Mr. Charles, somebody's asking you for the passion fruit syrup, but you know exactly who you can call to get a cartoon to ship out of Dominica. Are we getting ourselves more together into those development? Because I'm being frightened when I heard the president talk about something like 50-something million US dollars from 2017. From 2017 to now, we exporting in food, meat, chicken. Just one of the things I find, the government always say they put in money for small business, which I do approve of. But then when you get down to the basic of it, it is such a difficult road to walk through that sometimes you feel like giving up. Because I had experienced myself and I just give it up. And then, as you were saying earlier on, I had to go and take a loan privately at 8%. and it wasn't profitable for the business, and it put a strain on me. So I just wondering if those things can be done a little bit more easier, and if they need a person like you, Mr. Charles, an ambassador somewhere in an office to deal, as Cecil was saying, to deal with those things year round, to keep the people informed. And they're supposed to give us better education early on, since from primary school, about financing, using our resources to make money, how the nature that around us, and our industry. Because look, we have all these airlines coming in now, going up to the States, but it's difficult to ship out. Even at our port entry, I've been saying that for the longest while. Right at the bayfront and many other places, our products supposed to be exposing more, because I remember Mackenzie do it after we do a training with the European Union. They was training us here by supermarket, by Dominica local supermarket in Roseau, and he was doing it on his own. But when you look at the bayfront, the ferry, something like 4,000 people come in for the carnival last year. But how many of our products they take right at the bayfront there? Even our local bread, and I'm not talking about me individually, I'm talking about all the manufacturing people. But Mr. Charles, you're the right person, and I believe the Prime Minister should have been in an office in the center of Roseau. Do not laugh me, sir. You're supposed to be in the office working straight with the Prime Minister from in the middle of Roseau. Because I know where you is, you do a lot of work, and I've been telling you that. Even your partner of Marigot there, we have to develop that site in Cabana, make it more openly, make it more international, because we're talking about visitors. Charles Watty have a unique turtle spot at Cabana. This is something we have to check on. And we have to build more of those things, because we're inviting people. And I'd be very frustrated to go across government institutions like banks, financial center. So that's why I say you need Scotland was saying it last time on Cecil program. The Prime Minister need an ambassador to take care of all those little problems, because it's an education, and they're supposed to educate us more early in manufacturing in school and preserving our environment. Good night, sir.
Good night.
Good night to you. Nice point, Ronnie.
Nice
I
point.
appreciate that.
Very nice. Very nice.
The other thing we need to speak about more is about trade, because we have Dexia as a department that needs to help in the whole development of trade. We have seen government invested monies, something like $3.6 million, right? Ronald, in reference to helping Dexia purchase much more from the farmers.
Yes, government
before you go into that, you made a very important point. In terms of the agro industry, it's scientific. It's called the economy. In terms of the linkages, because if you're producing items, small businesses, let's say candles, the pineapples, or those things, you have to find a way to be able to ship it out. So there has to be market links, and you're talking about trade. And Dexter has to play a more pivotal role in terms of easy access to financing and easy access in terms of when you bring your products to them and you sell it, that you'll be able to get in a timely manner your money. Because many times when you bring the commodity to the base where you're supposed to be getting your money, sometimes it leads to a level of frustration. So there has to be easy access to financing, where you don't have all these hiccups, and that the fellas getting into the agriculture, agro-processing can have easy access. So getting to the marketplace, and at the end of the day, getting the money. Ronald, your views on that?
Well, yes, we're going back, we're going back to, to my earlier statement. Government is playing its part. Government is doing its share. The private sector, have to be able to assist as well. We're talking about agriculture. Government invested $67 million in the agricultural sector, over the last 5 or 6 years. $67 million provided inputs and equipment, to farmers across Dominica. If today we have a big production, as it were, in plantains, for example, it is precisely because some years ago government provided to the plantain farmers, certain inputs, that would help boost the production.
Yeah.
Having done that, it is my view that the private sector could or should be able to come on board to assist with marketing, because there is a serious issue of marketing in Dominica, and I'm not talking only about selling a grain of a grain or a hand or a bunch of plantain. I'm talking about the value added product. The plantain chips. Government cannot do that. If government ever try to go in that area of it, it will fail. It is a private sector. It has to be private sector led. In order for it to succeed. We're talking about government supporting building roads, feeder roads. And the minister did talk about about a number of feeder roads. That they will be building. Should it be government only to take care and maintain those roads? What about the farmers who are served by those roads? A rainfall this weekend, a drain is blocked, a culvert is blocked. It will take maybe half an hour for 3-4 farmers in the area to unblock it. Why do they have to wait for government to come? So we have now to discover our various roles. Roles. I'm seek to identify what it is that we can do to help ourselves in support of what government is doing, to extend what government is doing, or to benefit better, from what government is doing or has done. Okay, government cannot do everything. Okay, so the private sector, and I'm not talking about I'm not talking about strictly the merchants in Roseau. I'm not talking strictly about that. In fact, there is need for new individuals to come on, new resources to come on. But the innovation, and we spoke earlier about my friend in Newtown. I'm with the passion fruit pulping. Why can other people come and do something else? We're talking about the young ladies in Granby who many years ago started the soap. I'm doing this soap. I've not heard from them in a while.
The farmers, the female farmers in Delis, if for real.
Precisely. Yes. What these people need is more capitalization. More capitalization. For equipment, packaging, promotion. And more organization around the distribution of the product.
Well,
I'm seeing also too, as you're saying that in terms of the development of individuals. We have seen the selling of coconut water. Right now, I'm seeing a guy has taken what we normally call the nana. Some time ago, early on this year, my brother and myself, we were both speaking, did not know that was actually existing here, where we could take the nana and make a juice. And I'm seeing the guy has taken the nana.
The coconut food. The food?
Yes, and make a brilliant juice out of it. Right. A drink. Brilliant. It is sold at, I think.
But I know another guy, which I see by the market. Another big product for us is the cassava. Yes. The cassava is one.
You want to hold that for a while? Someone's on the telephone. Good evening to you, caller. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, caller.
Good evening to you, caller.
Good evening, Fireman Touching This. Good evening to Brother Brennan, Mr. Charles.
Here's a man in the agro business.
A political meeting all you have there?
No, man. Go ahead, man. You give your thoughts. I know in the business.
Yeah. You're talking about agriculture well and children as I listening. But no, I listened to a program today, somewhere in Castlebrooke, and I heard somebody was saying on the program that the government gives somebody 200 banana plant to plant, and the person said that banana don't have no money. So they leave the banana there and waste. Then she said that it has so much plantain, that plantain wasting wherever it is there. Right? But I find the other day I was in a river liquor and I see plantain $5 for $5. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what is really the problem. I know what is the issue. But the problem I have, if the government gives somebody 200 plants or to plant, why the person will leave the banana there instead of planting it? and say do money. I don't nobody care put me in what I know I just travel. Rivernica have one of the best banana in the Western Hemisphere right now. They get it straight. You know that?
I know.
You know that?
Of course.
We have the best fish in the Caribbean because of our water we have there. Premium rivers. And you know what I'm saying? But the problem we have in Rivernica, everybody for themselves, is a kind of selfishness that's going on. When everybody, even the same brother talks about certain things to come together. Everybody for themselves. You want to everyone to make their own order. It's going to cost you plenty more. I know a friend, but I meet a Chinese man, and the man tell me the reason why the Chinese are working together, when they making order, they come together and they make one stop, so everybody getting it. So if everybody have to go separate, it's going to be a problem. Most of our things we want in the country, we don't have to get overseas coming out from. So obviously things go cheap again. You know what I'm saying? And before I go now, I hear everybody talking about the airport. Mr. Brain and Mr. Joseph, I just come in all the long time from Mr. Charles. How many airports are landing Rosso Central already? How many planes are landing Rosso Central already?
But leave that alone.
I was just in Rivernica what they really like call Mr. Charles program to talk about it, and that's the problem I have. When you say I am to talk about IT, I don't talk no illusion. When I come to Rivernica, I go to Wesley and I see for a fact that soon from now, Dominica, Fireman say Rivernica going to have an international airport, and from there we're going to see a shift in our country. Because the problem we really have in both of them agricultural and agriculture products. They say the government need to buy boats. But they have to realize that the first people to have the boat. If government going to buy boats, it's going to take them out of business. I wrong why, but I know what happened.
You're correct. You're very correct.
You know what I'm saying?
That means the government will be competing. That means the government will be competing with its people.
Thank you. It has certain areas, that's why even if you say about jet sales, I can know you that. They need to work harder too. They need to, I don't say everybody can travel, but they need to give some people some trips to go to certain places in the Caribbean. Here we have certain things that the Caribbean needed. You know what I'm saying? And then maybe the government can get boat or whatever to bring it to the places. But the man can't just sit down there and talking. You have to run for market. Even the minister have worked to the board. As you say, they still have a part to play well and truly. Because at the end of the day, all of us benefit. You know what I'm saying? So we have a serious problem in the sense of selfishness and malice, well and truly. We need to change our mindset. But our country to get somewhere, we need to get ourselves together. Stay positive, stay balanced. This is the real fireman. Nobody can be like fireman. Up and running, fireman running, bless up.
Thank you. No. In all of what fireman had to say, you know, I took on board the idea of the banana plants. Do you know, really and truly, Ronald and Brain, that some farmers, I know I spoke to Darwin Telemark who mentioned that to me, that literally having his bananas here and having them in his ripening room makes much more money than sending his bananas to England.
Let me give you
but that what we're saying, Cecil, value added. Value added. For example, you know, let us take this gentleman who does it. The ripe bananas.
Raymond Austri.
Permanent secretary. Okay. I can't say whether he waited until he retired, you know, to go into that venture, but he's not in the mainstream, you know, distributive trades, you know, as it were in Rosso, but he found a niche. To go into the ripening of bananas, and that is a big thing in St. Lucia. Ripening of bananas. It's for a while now. Okay, so we're talking about value added. You know, people seeing the opportunities. I mean, people doing castor oil. They're doing cocoa sticks. They're doing, you know, they can plantain chips. I can see within potato chips as well. You know, potato chips as well. But it is still low kid. Still.
Can you put the mic towards you? Ronald, can you
still at
put
home.
the mic?
You know, still in the kitchen. You know, a small pot. You know.
Well, Ronald, I know of a guy, and he's doing very well. I can call it Mr. Frampton. He's into
bread.
He's into breads,
flowers.
flowers.
Yeah.
And I know he's been doing very well.
Yeah.
When he bring his product, I know, for instance, he brings.
So maybe you can buy a pumpkin bread.
But you have a pumpkin
$10.
bread, and he has different things like that.
Yes.
And I
Pumpkin
know he's been,
flour,
and
actually.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know he's been given a grant in terms of one of the farmers who got the assistance as a grant. So he is doing well. I know, for instance, in that field of flour. And so Mr. Austria, I know he's doing very well in terms
Farwin
of...
Force.
I know that
Yes.
he's doing very well in terms of that situation when it comes to his flour. And Mr. Austria in terms of his ripening room and he has a ripening room in Port Cassie, so he's been doing very well in distributing his rye figs and people buying it all the time. Yes, Reno.
And there are so many other people. I think I know one other lady. I think Olivia Ferrara. She does it too. And,
Yes.
and when you get to the supermarket and you purchase those things at the supermarket, you buying it no less than $5 a bunch. Is
Of
that,
course.
Sorry, a hand.
A hand, yeah.
A hand.
Uh-huh.
In fact, it's being weighed, Cecil.
Right
Weigh the
now.
bananas.
It's being weighed.
We-
I remember the days, talking about the Lakou, I remember the days, when bananas, was just, with every ravine across Dominic was smelling bananas, was running with banana vinegar, and that was in the 80s, and we had a lot of bananas. Okay?
And now the bananas that they're producing now in terms of is resistant bananas. In fact, the bananas are not going to be attacked like the black cicator and those diseases. I mean,
In fact,
it will be some level of resistance.
along those lines, just I'm Cecil Brain. The minister also announced that in tandem with this investment, that's in the citrus certification plant, we understand that our citrus has experienced a serious impact by a plant disease. So government is now spending how much money? $7.7 million to rehabilitate the citrus industry. As we talk, it's not plans, it's not promise. You go to Melville Hall, London area, you will see works on the ground. Okay? In tandem with that, with this investment, the government is continuing its efforts towards propagation of disease-free citrus planting material, which includes a grafting of 50,000 rootstock. Distribution of these citrus plants will begin by September 2025, and it is expected that 1,000 acres of citrus will be established with the 50,000 plants. Minister is continuing, I'm also happy to report that the Agricultural Science and Tissue Culture Lab, built with a grant from the People's Republic of China, $13 million, is fully staffed and operational. We will begin mass propagation of disease-free planting materials for key crops such as bananas, plantains, tanya, dashing, sweet cassava, white potatoes, sweet potatoes, vanilla, and pineapples. Okay, so we thank the PRC. We have much to thank the PRC for. Put down a facility, $13 million facility in 1 mile Portsmouth, the Tissue Culture Lab, and the minister is reporting that it is fully staffed, and they are preparing to produce disease-free plants, citrus plants, among others, to distribute to the farmers. All that government is doing, and all that government is doing to secure this sector.
Let me just add a little value to what you're saying. Also, under the ninth project,
The Chinese agricultural
also,
aid.
Aid has given us some farming equipment. I think they give us some tractors. I know they give us some tractors and some other farming implements to assist the farmers in their agriculture, especially where you have the situation when it comes to a certain level of labor shortage in the agricultural sector. So these low-cost farming equipments will assist the farmers in terms of helping them to alleviate some of their labor shortage. I know, for instance, government is also getting into a program of bringing in farm workers. I know recently that they brought in a few farm workers in a particular area in the country to help farmers in that area. So government is also playing its part in terms of assisting labor, because we're having a labor shortage in terms of agriculture, Ronald. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say a few persons are actually commenting on Facebook.
Yeah, go ahead.
Edwina Warrington said, we were growing up in the 80s, our ambition was to go to school, get a higher school education, because higher learning opportunities were hard to come by. We were interested to learn trade because in our mind we would know better days. In our mind, we know better days would come. Today, a lot of young people do not want to work. That's one person saying this. And Brenda, good evening, Brenda Alexander said, Ronald, you are so right. The farmers should be the ones taking care of the feeder roads. Government build them for their own use, and they do not want to even take care of them. So these are positive statements, and I think in building those roads, I think Ronald and Brain, I wonder if government can make some kind of condition in terms of the maintenance of those roads by the farmers, because they are the ones with heavy equipment, they are the ones with heavy vehicles, they are the ones who are actually using the feeder roads. So I wonder if there's some kind of condition when those roads have been built.
Well, within the farming area, if for instance you're into the car home area where you're building a feeder road for the farmers in the area, a feeder road to access their farms, I think that the farmers within the area should assist in the maintenance of that road. As Ronald said, in terms of drain, if for instance a tree or something fall across the road, I think that they have to play their part in keeping the road open, because it is what gives them access to their farms.
And hear what someone else is saying. Good evening to you, Marvin Brady. The person said, I always say that these farmers get everything for free from the government. They make their profit for their families, and they do not want to give back anything to the country. Come together and fix the road to your farmers as a unit. To your farms as a unit. The fishermen as well, free boats, nets and steel, they sell the fish so high. Who's getting these profits?
Well, I want to make a point on that.
Before you make that point, let's take the caller. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Cecil, and good evening, Bern, and good evening, Mr. Charles.
Good evening.
Good evening, my brother.
Yeah, I've been listening to the program. I mean, I thank Cecil that innovated that Lakou program is a very good program to educate the people. You just have to sensitize the people. They listen on Sunday night. And it's like a university, or when you're in the Lakou and you listen to what's happening, you're listening to all the history of Dominica from way back. So in other words, it's a program that many adults and children should listen. Parents should get their children to listen to the Lakou every Sunday night. Because it's an education that will take you from preschool to right up to university level. That when you have that archive, you learn that from Cecil in Lakou for years. My brother, this is a thing that will grow up with you and will die with you. Education. So everything you're looking at in Dominica, we have to start from way down, preschool, primary school to high school, to educate the people, how you do things, how things operate in the country, how we can benefit from that. I mean, look at that. Look at agriculture. We have from the 60s, before the 60s, we sent out our vanilla to England. We sent out our lime to England. All our raw material. Why don't we sit down with the Minister of Agriculture and whoever it is, the nutritionist, and let us take our raw material and turn it into our vibes in Dominica. Those send that out. And that is what we're missing. We're missing to turn our thing right here, get people that educated, that can chemist, that can have a factory and turn things, local people right on the ground to make their money so that we can send out to other places. Cecil, do you know a banana tree? If you utilize the whole banana tree can be utilized.
That's correct, yes.
Have you looked at the people in Fiji and all those places?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. They're very close with the banana.
The root of the banana is utilized. Do you know that the leaf of the banana, they're making plates with it and they put in food? They do it in Jamaica for tourists. When tourists come, they give them food on the banana leaf.
Yeah.
Cecil, you don't know, before in the bakeries, the bread used to be placed on banana leaf and give it a good flavor?
Yes.
They never banana leaf. The bread used to be placed on the banana leaf and put in the bakery. When that come out, that have a natural flavor and it sells better. Cocoa, we have cocoa we selling our cocoa outside, and we're not turning it into natural stuff ourselves. There are many things. Look at sweet potato. We order in. I have nothing against Irish potato, but Irish potato is not our stuff. There are many varieties of sweet potato. There are sweet potato that diabetics can eat. There are sweet potato that is 3 months, 6 months, 6 weeks. We can turn that thing. Even in Texas. I was in Texas. Do you know I see sweet potato in can? In Texas, carrot in can in Texas, beet in can, and we can grow all. Look at grapes. Dominica have a Dominica climate. We can grow grapes like the Mediterranean people, but no farmer or no government never see. But let's try to grow grapes in Dominica. There are a lot of things that can grow in Dominica. The weather is favorable, but we're not doing. Look at cashew. Cashew is a high price. Dominica have a lot of rugged terrain. Cashew can grow in cliffs. It can grow anywhere. You see sweet potato? You don't need flat land to grow sweet potato. You terrace the land and you grow sweet potato in all over. Dominica have land all over Dominica that can grow sweet potato. And let me tell you, I even dream about we can make sweet potato, millions in sweet potato. I saw that in a dream. And we're focusing on Irish potato. And whereas we can focus on sweet potato and make millions of dollars in sweet potato, whether we fry it, whether we can it, whether we do what is with the local farmers, you give the opportunity to local farmers. But Cecil, I am asking our people, join, make association, fishing association, manufacturing association, come together. That's the problem we have, We don't want to, everybody wants everything for themselves. We have to come together and fight. The Caribbean have to come together and fight. Whether agricultural ministry to ministry, Antigua agricultural ministry, we link with Dominica agriculture, and we ship country to country, ministry to ministry, and we ship to them, they ship to us. Let me tell you, Dominica have one of the best fish that you can ever eat. Brain, tell me why.
The water.
The water.
Yeah. The fresh water that flows into the sea.
Yeah.
What it does, it makes the sweet water sweet. No. Why you have so much fish? Because the sweet water comes at a certain level. So the fish comes up at a certain level, then it stays down at a certain level at a certain time. So in other words, we have good quality fish. All the other Caribbean islands, they don't have water. What they have more copper grass. Cecil, when they used to tell me that, you get poisoned because of the fish is in copper. Cecil is not copper and from both the fish eating now. There's a thing they call copper grass.
Yeah, I know.
And it grows in many places that don't have so much water. Antigua, all them other places, they grows. And the fish eat it and it poison the fish poisoning us. So in other words, you have to go from Antigua 20 miles to 30 miles out for it to get good fish. But Dominica is not so. Dominica have fish we never take out in that water yet, Up to now, We have fish that we can never take out. And they come in every year, the season coming in, And what we're doing about it, nothing. We can catch the fish, cure it, salt it, smoke it, and women can run that industry. The curing, the filleting, women can run that industry. Why they're not doing it, I don't know why. People just have forming the fold, they sell it, blah, 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 blah. Saint-Sauveur, you can have a factory in Saint-Sauveur to smoke a smokehouse. This there, a modern smokehouse. It have modern smokehouses, You fillet the fish, and you say, right now, flying fish, leave Barbados, it leaves Trinidad, it going more down south, where it's colder. So Barbados, don't even have flying fish again. But we have a whole set of fish coming down when the season coming that we cannot even utilize it. But Cecil, we need to go into bigger boats. Get bigger boats that we can get bigger catch and supply. Let me ask you, Cecil, why do government have to give fishermen a boat that costing $35,000 and an engine that costing $25,000, about $65,000 to $70,000 worth of equipment? And the same fisherman you give the engine and the boat, they come and sell a pound of fish for you for $10. There should be some regulation that the fisherman you give the boat and the engine costing $75,000 there. There's some stipulation when you give those fishermen that deal For 2 to 3 years, you cannot sell fish at $10 because what? We assist you, we subsidize you. So you're supposed to be subsidizing the people that on the ground, the mothers and the children are going to school. Sell fish cheaper. No, you're catching coolie right down in Pottersville. Sometimes they get 3-4 boats, 5 boats. How in God's heaven white fish come to selling $10 a pound? And you don't go channel, you don't spend no gas. They have to put stipulations on those fishermen. They're too greedy. We too greedy. Farmers too greedy. When you're a farmer, you're not supposed to be greedy. When you're a fisherman, you're not supposed to be greedy. If you're not greedy and you give in, God will bless you immensely. A fisherman supposed to give the hospital fish, grotto fish. Give, and God will give you on the next hand. But I'm trying to tell you, the people that in authority, they're not putting their foot down. You cannot give fishermen so much equipment, farmers equipment, free that, free this, free that. Farmers are not taxed. Farmers are not paying tax, No taxes are not being paid by farmers, Tax-free. So when they get their money, you know why someone else was running a lot of women? Because they're not paying tax. Tax-free money, good money, fisherman, same thing. So in other words, now you have to put stipulations where, hey, you have to sell that fish for your people at a cheaper rate. Have a blessed night, my brother, and thanks for the education.
Thank you for your education too.
Thank you.
It's quite a lot
Cecil,
from what this gentleman gave us there.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're greedy. I think they're missing out on their sense of worth, But one of the things he just said there, and it is, it is important to me. He's talking about fisheries and government expenditure, $10+ million, to refurbish the damaged fisheries complex in Roseau, and with new equipment, new vending stalls, refrigeration, etc., etc. It pains me, Cecil, bring the listeners, to see if all that $25 million expenditure done on the fisheries complex. But there are some fishermen, you just cannot get them to go and sell in the fisheries complex in a more sanitized, healthy condition. They're just outside the fisheries complex, selling fish, and government just spent $10 million US. If government did not spend that money, they would be saying something else. Government spending money, the facility is there, and how much will it cost you? A few cents on the pound? To go in there and to sell your fish in a very improved healthy healthy condition.
Take the call, Cecil.
Okay, let's go to the caller. Good evening to you, caller.
Good evening, Cecil.
Good evening.
Brilliant and
Good evening. Good evening.
You all are doing a very great and excellent job.
My friend, good evening. Good evening.
Good. You all are doing a great and excellent job. I just wanted to respond to the caller a while ago and some other callers. Let me say that I'm not a fisherman, but what I need them to understand is there's what you call a capital investment in terms of the boat and let us say the engine. That's a capital investment. But there are other aspects that the fishermen have to take into consideration. I'm not saying that $10 a pound of fish is okay, it's all right. But before we criticize something, we need to walk a mile in the shoe and see what the actual cost is. In fact, Franco, you have been close to the fisheries cooperatives. You know what it is to go out there. The cost of gas, the cost of how many days, you know what it is in terms of actually catching fish. So it is not necessarily just to say, well, you get boat and they get this and then they're selling a pound of fish at X amount of dollars. So let's look at that further. But I just want to comment generally on the line that you all have taken. That is the work that I think that we ought to do as persons with information, to translate that information, to the ordinary man on the street. And that is what I am gathering, that is what I'm getting coming from you all. And when you coin that the Lakou, I think only really touching the Lakou people, the Lakou man, to understand, look, well, that is what the Labour Party government is actually doing it. The way you all are dissecting the various aspects, of the budget. We have never done that before. I know, before we discussed budget and this, but the language, the term that you all are using, I remember using certain persons, I would like to really call names, after the presentation of the budget, to come on and have a radio program on the budget. But what you all are doing is actually shikaing it. That is the Lakou language that the people can understand, because all time people just hearing things and just feel, okay, well, that's just a pie in the sky, and do they really understand the measures that are taken? When you talk of the no VAT and no duty on things like flour, how much it improve their life or improve their capacity of spending? How do they feel that in their actual pocket? And I just want to compliment you all for that level of talk, that Lakou talk that you are really, 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 really having. And I hope the man on the street can understand in a very simple way the work of this Labour Party.
Don't go yet, caller. Don't go yet, caller. You are one of the main driving force behind the housing activity since you're propelled. So I want you to touch on that 2% business.
I leave those matters to the Minister of Housing. I think she is fully well equipped. You understand me, and have played a very pivotal role, a leading role in all what you've seen is happening in housing today. And I think I can speak highly of her and her commitment, the sentiment, the love, the care, what she expresses. Because as we always say, like housing, is a basic human right, it's a need, and I think she's on the right path, she's on the right agenda, and let us just wait on her presentation during the budget speech, and I think we will get a lot coming from her.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. Well, one of the points that I want to raise quickly is on the issue of the fishermen. And he added in terms of the cost of gas and in terms of time spent at sea. But I also know that government put a FAD, where before you had to go miles and miles before you caught fish. But right now you can just go to the FAD, and some of them have the modern equipment where they can actually map out the fish. They have certain equipment which government gave them as well, so you can locate the fish. I think they call it
the fish finders. The fish finders.
So in other words, it's much easier for them to locate the fish and to get to the fish.
As we continue, I just want to say good evening and thank you for watching and listening. That's Rosalind Sevre McLean and Renick Thomas, Sonia Williams. Thank you for watching. Stevenson Joseph. Thank you again for watching. And Michael Rui. Yes.
Yes. We're talking. Yeah. Thanks for the caller. Comrade Felix there. But we're talking about the Lakou. Felix, the Lakou experience, and the budget as presented, how it reaches out to the Lakou people. For example, the Village Stays, right? Program. Village Stays is a reimagined model of accommodation that blends international standards with the warmth, culture, and natural beauty that make Dominica unique. This will be an immersive cultural experience that invite guests to connect deeply with our people, heritage, and our environment. To realize this vision, the government is rolling out a dedicated village stays policy framework, which will include training in sustainable construction and culturally appropriate design, operational mentorship to ensure consistency and excellence, monitoring and certification of quality assurance. Government will provide targeted fiscal incentive packages to small tourism accommodation across the country to support the growth and quality of these facilities. These packages will allow duty-free concessions on essential items such as linens, cutlery, cookware, small appliances, and other furnishings necessary to meet hospitality standards. By reducing the upfront costs of outfitting and upgrading these properties, we aim to encourage higher levels of participation, improve the guest experience, and ensure that locally owned tourism accommodations are prepared for the sharp increase in stopover visitor arrivals, which are projected when the international airport, now under construction, becomes operational Applications for this concession should be made through the Ministry of Tourism. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, residents, particularly property owners along the Waitikuli National Trail, are being encouraged to develop bed and breakfast accommodations to enhance the trail experience. For these property owners, government is willing to partner with you by providing the necessary concessions and fiscal incentives.
That is wonderful. That is great.
You know, so while the work is advancing on the bigger hotels, you know, the 4 and 5 star hotels, government is reaching out in the Lakou, to reach out the small individuals.
Yes.
You know, at your home, you can develop a room, you know, a small condo, you know, in your room, fully furnished. But the people will be mixing with you. You know, they will not be in the all-inclusives, you know, of Portsmouth or Soufriere or that way, you know. And they will learn the culture. They will experience village lifestyle. You know, all safe, meeting international standards. You know, because you have to be able to, to gauge yourself and to qualify your service.
That reminds me when we were going to school, the life of the Lakou again, that we used to have this exchange between Dominica and Guadeloupe, where students would go and live in the homes of other students and their families, and that is what that the budget is actually talking about. You know, where the bed and breakfast situation, the B&B, can be met, can reach out to everybody's heart. And so it really helped, especially during the period of the World Creole Music Festival. We saw what happened this year with our carnival, and we expect next year for it to again double. So government is literally, as it says, hearing your plea, hearing your cry.
And it also shows, Cecil, the synchronizing of the development. You know, and as we say, development is not a milestone. You know, development is not a milestone. You know, you proceed and you work towards development. You know, as one activity is completed, you know, you go into another one which complements the one you just completed. Okay, so the airport is being built, the hotels are being built, the little man, the people in the Lakou are not being left behind.
Let's go to the telephone quickly. Good evening to you, caller.
So I'm calling back another time to support what Mr. Avondale brother just said a while ago from Kingsville and Big Six.
Felix Thomas.
Felix Thomas. You know, when you go to the supermarket, you will see some top products from Big Six. It's amazing, you know, different products that man have been making. And it's a real good marketer, because sometimes when I walk down to the market and I buy a plantain on a Saturday morning, when the cruise ship there, you'll see customers come from the cruise ship just to come by Big Six and drink a pump-seater juice for high blood pressure. And sometimes we don't recognize those people because they're doing a lot of work. It's just like what Mr. Charles is saying. It's a continual education, and because our people now, they're educated in that era, and you have to continue. As your brother was saying the other day, Daryl Tip, what is our brand? He asked him bring on a program, what is Dominica tourism brand? Is this breadfruit juice, or the whale is taking the cruise ship into port early in the morning because the whale will follow the cruise ship. It wouldn't stay at the back for the propeller to cut it because it's not stupid. It piloting it on the bayfront. We have a young woman, I think, who will swim from Scotchhead to Portsmouth. You have the young guys from Newtons who dive with the whale. Do we film those things and put them so that the visitors can see and make more photographs all at the front of DBS, Mr. Joseph, to market the products and make it better? We should bring down Daryl Telemark for this year to do some sanitation working also, because I heard he speak about it sometime, me and Brain, to clean up some of the lots, all that what Ronald is saying there. And it's a continual thing, because we can just talk on it now and leave it, because it's not going to grow. We have to cooperate, and as Big Six saying, we the small business people need to cooperate. You know, even in Martinique and Guadeloupe, they're close to us. There is so many ill people that want natural medicine. They want somebody like Bobby to talk to them. They want somebody like Sister Nats, like Mr. Deja. And they don't just want the medicine. They want our natural way of cooking without meat. We can use those things, but it's we, this small business, I keep telling them, we have to form cooperatives. Look at the market there. All during the independent time just closed down. And that is a unique time for us to open up. But we have to come together. And I totally tell Ronald, people like he and Goes, and maybe somebody from the Carib territory, always should have an embassy and a 1 or 2 ambassadors to help, because the work has to continue. And look at the cruise ship coming here. We have all the products here the cruise ship wants. How we can get some of our agriculture produce on the cruise ship? You have the former port manager, I know he was contacting straight with these cruise ships, travel to Greece for seminar. The minister, and he's supposed to do some marketing from the cruise ship to buy some of our agriculture produce. We have sweet melon, cucumbers, lettuce. So I think those little roads will help. And Ronald talk about maintaining the roads, the farmers. I totally agree with Ronald. Some of those roads, after the government fixes it, the farmers should maintain it, help to maintain it. You have a little bobcat in the area there, and you have a fella cleaning, unblocking drains. Just put some money together, and I think that's the way we have to go. And I think maybe we're giving the people too much politics. We're supposed to have more of those kind of education programs. And I told the Prime Minister that look at 50-something million US dollars for importing food and meat. We have to think better, Cecil. We're going to go through some difficulties. We have to keep exporting our currency like that. Have a good day.
Thank you. Just want to say good evening again. Glenn Peter said that he's watching, and Michael Roy said good program, informative. Edwina London says that's good evening, gentlemen. I'm late, but watching and listening from Houston, Texas. Love Lakou. Yes, guys. Teresa Fridges, good evening.
Yeah, Cecil. In the budget, I mean, it was a wide-ranging budget. The minister, he spoke for 3 hours, so I mean, he had a lot of materials to cover. And one of the things he spoke about, and it is significant to our development, is the whole issue of communication, access, right? Of communication and roads, right? Government just spent in excess of $200 million, over 227 million, or they are about completing that expenditure to put down a road, to rehabilitate, refurbish a road from Badiab, close to the Emerald Pool, take to Castle Bruce, through the Kalinago territory, up to Hatton Garden. That entire stretch of road, Cecil, you can drive from Emerald Pool to Hatton Garden within 20 minutes.
Yes, I've done it.
Within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
All right? $227 million. And you look at it and you're wondering, but where is that expenditure? But see the number of bridges, and culverts, and slope stabilization measures that government had, that the project had to deal with. On top of that, when the project was in train, there were a couple of weather incidents, flooding incidents, that allowed the designers and the engineers to go back over the original design, and correct it, so make it more resilient. So that will be completed towards in the next couple of months.
And what is also good, we have to take note of that. For some people it might not be significant, but we have to remember some of the people, while this project was going on, criticized the project, think that it was not going to finish, complain about dust, even when the trucks would pass there to give water. People would say that the shocks have been damaged, and so today I'm not hearing the same set of people. I don't know if it's the attitude of the Lakou that would have created that.
I mean, in a more aware situation, the dust issue could have been dealt with differently.
Okay.
Because if I was living up there, I'd have come reach hells over the dust. Okay? Because I drove there in Easter 2024. Easter 2024, and I mean my vehicle from Castle Bruce to Hatton Garden, my vehicle was covered in dust by the time I reached Castle Bruce. Okay? And I was saying, wait a minute. But that's a separate issue. And issue, the road is completed now. Hallelujah. We are enjoying it. But in similar manner, we have another road project in the south of the island, $117 million. As we speak, being developed now in the Granby area, from Loubier to Granby. That's the first phase of the Loubier Bacatel road rehab. Okay, $117 million being spent on that road. Yes, $117 million. On that road, there'll be 5 bridges. 5 bridges will be replaced. Slope stabilization, road safety issues, etc.
And as you're saying this, what came to mind, Ronald, is the relationship with the government of Dominica and the United Kingdom.
We come into that. So we were saying that the 5 bridges are the road and the bridge by in Loubier, Fobawa Loubier, by Frankie Luge in the area. The bridge in Snock Corner by the Kubuli factory, the old Kubuli factory. Then we go all the way to Pishley, the bridge just as you exit in Pishley, to go into towards Granby. The bridge, another bridge where the old boxing plant used to be in Granby, and then the biggest one, the big Mitchum Bridge, right? By the Tarish Pit, you no longer have to go wrong, and do that, that hairpin bend. No, you go straight across, across the Mitchum. 117 million made possible, and started a good thing. You joggle my memory, because it is the British government making those funds available. Okay, and those funds were pledged after Maria. And we are only now drawing down on those funds because we have no control over when the funds reach us. Okay, there are so many things that had to be done, before we touch those money. So people are impatient. People say, "Oh, British government, I'm give you money." Yes, they pledge the money. They are committed to giving you the money, but the money is not yet in your treasury. You have so many things to do, so many qualification criteria to meet before you draw down on your money.
But even looking at all of the qualifications that are required, trust and relationship.
Yes,
is of great importance.
That is good.
And for a government to give you $117 million to complete a project of that magnitude,
and that's not the only money from the British government. The British government putting a similar sum in to the government after Erica, and government decide they're going to use it for water, to put into the water sector a significant amount of money. So so we have those 2 tranches of funding, that the British government, has pledged to government, and both of them only now those those projects, these funds, are being expended, for the forward, they were designated to do.
No. Also, too, you have spoken or mentioned just these 2 big capital road projects, but there's also this one from the Portsmouth area going back, I think, to Hatton Garden. That's of great importance. That tells you that in the next 2 years, 2.5 years, the infrastructure of roads would be the best, already it's the best in the Caribbean.
That'll be the game changer for road thoroughfare in Dominica, because if you leave Borosphere going towards Marigot, you will drive along a series of single lane bridges. Okay, when the roads were redone in the mid 80s, the Canadian firm Sintra did that. They just put some culvert and some some drainage, and they just resurfaced the road as it was. Right now, with more vehicles on Dominica Road, the density remains the same, but there are more vehicles on the road. There are heavier vehicles on the road. There's greater movements on the road. So the roads have been worn and worn out. So that project funded funding assistance from the government and of the People's Republic of China. It will be the game changer. It will be, as the minister said, it will be done in 3 phases. First phase from Borough Square in Portsmouth to Ansdimi. Second phase from Ansdimi to Wesley, I suppose, to the airport site. And the third phase from Wesley to Marigot. Significant amount of money.
Yes.
I heard a figure being bandied about some time ago, but I would repeat it now because the minister didn't capture that in his address. But on top of that, another $4.9 million is being spent as we speak to address critical road edge failures and drainage rehabilitation projects across the island. Okay, and we're talking about projects at Bells, at Bioche, Penrise, Roger, and St. Joseph, all that to stabilize slopes and prevent erosion along these major roadways.
So Dominica will no longer be in darkness. When I say darkness, I don't literally mean darkness. But Dominica now will be on the move in the region. We are preparing for not just the international airport, but we are preparing for new business. We're preparing for new ideas. We are preparing for others to really have Dominica as the gateway to the changing Caribbean. Well, and so when we speak about the international airport, we have seen the links with the international airport with hotels. Now we are hearing roads. We're talking about AI schools.
Agriculture,
we're talking about agriculture, tourism. So when we look at the whole linkage with the international airport and the preparation of the international airport to Dominica's gateway, I mean, it's going to speak volume in the next 5 years. So Ronald and myself will be on retirement. We should be enjoying our retirement. If God give
I'm
us
already on
the
retirement.
life. And we would say this.
Cecil, there's a difference between retirement and pension.
Okay. Okay, we'll be on pension. We will be on pension.
I would retire as yet.
We'll be on pension and not retired. We would be on pension and maybe continue helping in the development of Dominica.
The thing about it, you must understand what is meant by a resilient Dominica. A resilient Dominica means backward and forward linkages in economics. So when you have your airport, you have your roads, you have your health centers, you develop your education, and I will come to education when you're finished with your information on the roads. Basically, the road network is going to be easy access to move from one area to the next at a quicker time, to move your goods and services much easier. Because better roads, less wear and tear on your vehicles, and you're able to travel at a quicker rate between destinations.
And one of the reasons why we can see the efficiency of the budget is because of its theme. And the theme says,
what's the theme?
Balancing resilient development and fiscal discipline for sustainable growth.
Very good. So the whole world, resilience.
Yes.
Benefiting Dominica for sustainable growth, which means that you want to be growing all the time. Sustain your growth.
With all of this, with fiscal discipline.
Right.
So which means we're not going to spend money everywhere. And, you know what I'm saying?
And you know the word has been bandied around in economic jargon, sustainable. A lot of people like to talk about sustainable development. Well, what that does mean, what it means is that using your environment very, 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 what I would call conservative, meaning that you're not only just going to use your environment how you want, you're going to sustain development with your environment. You're not going to degrade your environment in terms of development. There's a balance between the two, economic development and sustainable growth. Now, Cecil, on the issue of education, I understand that the government is spending about 10.5% of the national budget on education, which is the 30th largest chunk in education, which is about almost 71.3% or thereabout $1 million in education. And one of the main driving force would be education reform. Now, what is education reform? Education reform is to prepare the young people for the 21st century. That is, you want to develop a lot of skills to make them ready. And one of the driving force behind that will be the Goodwill Secondary School. That's going to be a TFET school, technical and vocational education, which will be training young people to use skills, mainly
The
woodwork,
Center for Technical and Vocational Excellence.
Excellence. Have you seen that in the budget?
When that was said, everybody applauded by the minister.
Right.
Once the minister of finance
Have
said
you
that.
seen that school? Have you been there?
You're talking about the one in Goodwill?
Have you seen it?
I've seen it every day.
I saw it close up on only this morning's brain, and
When you went to church, right?
yeah.
When you,
And it
well, I'm
reminded
always
me-
seeing it, you know.
Yeah, and it reminded
It's your
me,
neighbor.
Cecil, it reminded me that when the foundation was being built, when the old structure was taken down, 2 former pilots went down there, and were campaigning against the facility, the school. I'm looking at the building today and the quality of the work, and I say our people are going to be trained there, young and old alike. Okay, a center for technical education, vocational training.
So which
excellence.
means we'll be seeing AI there?
Yeah, there's AI
There's
there.
AI there.
There's AI there.
We need to say that.
Okay.
Well, say it. There's AI there.
And as we speak in their brain, good thing you brought that subject, because there are 7 schools under construction in Dominica as we speak.
Yeah.
7 schools. There are 5 primary schools
2 high
and
schools.
2 high schools. Right? 2 secondary schools. You go to Tetmon, there's a brand new school going on in Tetmon. You go to Bellevue Chope, brand new school going on in Bellevue Chope. And if you see the size of that thing, right? You go to Siniku, you go to Kalewishi, and you go to Tibo. And in Tibo 1 has been designated as the Center for Special Education in the Prime Minister's office. Okay? So those 5 primary schools are under construction as we speak. Added to that, there is the Dominica Grammar School and the Goodwill Secondary School. And you can see the improvement. Brain, you're an educator, you taught at those facilities there. You could see the improvement in the facilities.
Yeah, I
between
saw
then
the-
and now.
Yeah.
I
I can talk to the Goodwill Secondary School
Yeah.
because I work there. And when I saw they were breaking down the school to build a new school, I heard a certain individual, I'm not calling names, next to me was talking about taking over the Goodwill Savannah and taking over the housing. And when I see the school now, man, it's a magnificent edifice. Modern, strong, man, the kind of foundation that's in that school, man.
I see the columns.
The columns,
The
man.
columns are a meter square.
Man,
Yeah,
this
it's
is
really big.
man, massive.
It reminds me of the White House columns.
Right, and it's 4 stories high.
High, yeah.
4 stories. And that's a transformation in itself. And I want to applaud the Chinese government, the
What a
People's
gift.
Republic of China, for the gifts that they're given. And Ronald just mentioned the schools in terms of transforming education, because we're talking about education reform. Now that is going to transform education for the modern century.
And I like the idea of the vocational training, because we have been hearing that for some time, and there are so many of us who would have been in the old days school period, where we were given some kind of training.
Right. Let me just tell you what education reform means so that the public can hear that. I'm the educator. Eh? The major task is to ensure that the reform process is geared towards the issue of improving access to quality and relevant education in an equitable manner. You hear that? Making the education relevant. So in other words, when you're developing, the education has to be relevant to the development of the country. And that education is TVET education and early childhood education.
And very clear, it means that every child will have that opportunity.
Access to quality education. And not only that, in terms of tertiary education as well. You see what the education facility up there, what you call the sixth form college, or what we call now
State College.
the
State
State
College.
College. Transformation is taking place there as well.
Brian, Cecil, our listeners, whilst government, it may not be a government project, another school building.
70s.
Right next to the Goodwill
That's
Secondary
right.
School.
Yeah.
There's a brand new school under construction now. and where government would come in maybe, in granting of concessions, to the developers of that school.
That's the Seventh Adventist.
Yes, all in an all-embracing manner, in education reform, that government is involved, at critical stages, even in the private sector, embarking on education programs.
Right, very interesting. And the access to loans at the aid bank for students wanting to go and do further education.
So I think we need to repeat that thing about that figure from the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Development. We said it is the food they'll be receiving the largest allocation of $71.3 million. That is 10.5% of the recurrent expenditure.
Yes,
I mean that is huge.
Largest.
I mean, can you recall ever we would have seen such a large amount?
No.
To the Ministry of Education?
No.
Not really. I can recall, when the Minister of Education, and I've been here for a while. I've been following these developments for a while. And what is interesting there as well, as part of the education reform Brian is talking about, is the training of the human resource in there, the development of the human resource, where teachers are encouraged and even supported, to go out there and better equip themselves, so that they can better deliver on their, on the school, on the curricula. In fact, government is embarking now, on a kind of a reform, as Brian said, where every child must be grounded in the basics of literacy and numeracy, okay? But also exposed to a wide range of practical and creative skills, including agriculture, art, and music. And this must be balanced with a focus on the child's mental and physical well-being. So you have people now in the system who can better drive those programs. And there's less emphasis now on books. The Prime Minister got a lot of blows, a few weeks ago, for noting, that we emphasize, we place too much emphasis on the books.
On the textbooks.
Children going to school now, and they're dragging a suitcase behind them with books and books and books,
which they're not using.
Okay. That they are not using. Brain, you said it, not me.
No, I'm the educator.
And he got a lot of books, and he's saying that let us deal with the numeracy, issue, literacy and numeracy issue, but let us not forget the practical and creative skills. Which is what our education system has moved away.
And I want to tell you that we had a workshop recently where I taught education, leadership, and the law for 2 weeks, hosted by the Dominica Association of Teachers. And the government of Dominica assisted the Dominica Association with running that workshop because the Canadians were no longer part of it. And so the government of Dominica came in to assist the Dominica Association. And one of the major areas were in classroom management, artificial intelligence, music, and also classroom management. So AI is something that we're going to be pushing in the classroom. You better learn about it, Cecil. The artificial intelligence is going to be in our school.
Brent, are you ready? Are you ready for that?
Well, I got a dose of it.
I've received my own
of artificial intelligence, and I never knew that thing was so powerful.
Well, yeah, that's where the world is going these days.
Right.
And that's why some time ago, if you remember, Brain, that we brought a young man, a Dominican, who studied in the United States on the whole issue of AI, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And he was saying to us that we need to start to prepare. And that some people calling and saying that this AI situation is going to take jobs away. And he was able to outline and to articulate the advantage of having AI to the growing society that we have, especially among young people. So it's important that at schools we have to now start the process and to get our well-informed Dominicans who are out there to come back and to help and to develop.
And do you hear the other one that they're bringing in? The Confucius classroom.
Oh yes, I heard the Chinese made mention.
Yeah.
Actually, I had an interview with him and he was making mention of
Right. Well, that is, for instance, we're going to be using smart blackboards.
that. As a matter of fact, it's already in the college, right? That's what you were saying.
Chalkboards. Yeah. Well, so you do not only just write on a chalkboard. The board itself is like a computer.
Yeah.
So the modern facilities in some of the schools will have the Confucius classroom where your board is modern. So prepare yourself for that. It's here already. It's coming fast and furious. And I believe the Goodwill School will be one of those that will probably be moving into that.
And especially has been built by the Chinese, and the Chinese are into the modern period.
So education has been getting a great boost, and to see that the third largest allocation was for the Ministry of Education, and I applaud the government for doing that.
And in fact, Bryn, you whispered earlier about the facility, the education facility at the Aid Bank.
Yes.
Where government is putting in $2 million in a revolving fund, to assist our young people, to take advantage of the emerging trends, the marina management, the international airport management, following construction, all the various hotels that we have, government, the geothermal energy plant. We have to train our people because we can't depend forever on expats, to come and manage those things for us.
Right.
We have to prepare ourselves, our people, and government has placed $2 million at the Aid Bank to, that can on lend to students, wishing to go and learn in those various disciplines.
And Franco was just saying that, what comes to mind immediately is that we heard very early in Roosevelt's character reign, when he became Prime Minister in 2005, that he expanded, because he had that vision, he expanded the ministries and created ministries that some persons never heard of. And people criticize the fact of having a large government. Today we are seeing the results. Every facet, every sector of development in the world,
Right.
today Dominica, through its various ministries, now can boast of speaking of things that maybe some governments in the region have not started
Heard
to
of.
speak of. You know what I'm saying?
Heard
I mean, look, we have now the blue economy,
Blue and green economy.
blue and green economy,
Yes,
very vital.
Very vital.
Before we used to talk about just the environment, and we used to just say fish.
Right.
Today we're saying there is resource in the sea that we can develop.
And go back, going back to the Lakou, Cecil, going back to the Lakou, I got involved in the environmental world movement, as it were. At a time when it was being scorned upon. People did not understand what we were saying at forestry, that our future, Dominica's future, is intricately knitted in the preservation and conservation of our natural resources. I mean, they call us police boa. We're very unpopular forestry officers, because we ensured that the hinterlands of Dominica, the central backbone of Dominica, the forest there, remain intact. And we hauled people before the courts. We charged them because you could not do that. And I thank the people who I worked with and who taught me those insights there. I remember when this subject of climate change, began emerging, in the late 1980s. People, what are you talking about climate change?
Yeah.
The world is getting warmer, and we can see it. We can see it today. Even there are people who still do not believe, the phenomenon of climate change.
But not that only, Franco. You remember that people used to say to us, cut the trees and build things. Trees can give you money.
The forest was the last frontier to conquer.
People actually saying those things, And today we are seeing the results.
We are seeing, a transformation.
Right.
Where people are aware. I remember traveling, combing the countryside, going to various schools. Every school in Dominica I have been, not once or twice. Several times. Been to PTAs. We've run radio programs, and thank God for people like Arlington James, Michael Zamo, Felix Gregor, and Dave Williams and the people I worked with called more Christian, we worked hard, to get the message of conservation across to Dominican people. So today, when we talk about tourism, we're talking about our national trail. What do you call a national trail? We could not have a national trail today in Dominica unless people like Christopher Maximin, Cuthbert Julian, Hinsey Manuel, and those people before them were out there protecting the forest, conserving the forest. Right. So we're talking about tourism, we're talking about agriculture, we're talking about health, and that is neatly woven into the health of our environment. All right. So so we've come a long way now, and what we need to do now is to transform that knowledge we have, into action.
Let me come here quickly.
Yes.
When you're talking about the environment, we must give praise to the government for the NEP workers, because when you travel around the country, especially in the area of Coliho, Dublin, Bioche, and around the country, you can see the beautiful flowers.
Bryn, you ever visited the Prime Minister's constituencies?
Of course I have. And I've seen what is taking place there as well. Have you traveled around the coast, the West Coast, Cecil? Have you been seeing the... No, have you seen the type of work that the NEP have been doing in terms of sustaining it? And do you know, I was very happy to see that the Prime Minister has even increased the subvention for the NEP workers. Mm-hmm. You know that?
Yes.
So that program can be sustained because he realized the environment is part of Dominica's wealth.
And as Roosevelt Skerritt always say, Prime Minister of Dominica, he says that by the stroke of a pen, someone else can change that.
But certainly, that's a powerful point you're making, because the social programs that government has now, it is all because of the vision of the government led by Roosevelt Skerritt. Okay, the NEP, the Yes We Care, where government sending people to the homes of individuals, our senior citizens, to take care of them, make sure they have a shower, comb their hair, clean their house, go do shopping for them. Government, Roosevelt Skerritt had that vision years ago, and the Yes We Care, NEP, the 60 and over pension, and he's saying no, the Minister of Finance is saying no, that as long as this government is here, those programs will not go.
And we must say thank you at the initial stage when the government of Libya under Muammar Gaddafi actually gave the government of Dominica $1 million to start the project off. And see today, 16, 17, 18 years later, the project is still on. The program is still on and improving. You know what I'm saying?
A number of young people engaged
because people felt after the death of Muammar Gaddafi, this was going to die.
Yeah, it would die.
But Muammar Gaddafi has gone a long time. But the government of Dominica, through also the efforts of the CBI, has had this program ongoing, spending hundreds of millions of dollars on the project.
And I'm very happy to hear the Prime Minister or the Minister of Finance saying that the program continues and is going to be strengthened. Which is very good, because that helps to keep Dominica clean and green, which is part of sustainable development.
And for these things to happen, Franco, we have to look again at the Lakou growing up. We took pride to clean the yard, to clean the road, to cut the trees, or to trim the trees, as we normally would say, and to ensure that our environment remain clean. And Roosevelt Skerritt from Vickers saw the benefit of keeping the place, the area, the environment clean. Thus, the rationale for the NEP.
Certainly remember the days when the tongue board, to visit the Lakous.
Yes.
The tongue board used to visit every bakery, to make sure, the sanitation, was there, and there was a famous, is it Solomon?
Solomon.
Yes,
Solomon.
This is my tongue, man.
Yeah.
And then, but the NEP program, is designed in such a way, to help us garner or develop greater appreciation for our environment. And people have scoffed at the program, but when you look around, you can see that people are, the environment is cleaner, it's better, it's more appealing, aesthetically more pleasing, you know, and and we can say yes, it is working, and the NEP, we should say, Brain, the NEP is not only including people on the road. There are people in government offices.
Yes.
There are people in the in various offices, not only in government but in private sector. And the government is supporting, as part of its wider efforts to
social programs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Looking back at the budget, Franco, the largest share of the budget
Prime
in terms
Minister's
of the recurrent expenditure estimate really goes 43% of it, or maybe $293 million is allocated to the Ministry of Finance. And economic development, climate resilience, and social security. That for me is important.
Well, two
especially
things,
keeping the social security alive.
Two things would jump at me when I saw that allocation. One, to meet government's obligations to regional international organizations, its loans and those things there. And secondly, to ensure that pensioners are taken care of. Okay. And this to jump at me, so it means that Dominica is current on all its loans. Dominica has not defaulted on its loans, and government taking care of their pensioners, those public officers who have gone ahead and have contributed. People like Brain, Brain Smile.
Yeah, man, 45 million has been allocated to us, to make sure our salary.
And then,
don't have no man says, we have to look after ourselves.
Yes.
45 million.
You have given service.
Put aside for us. Not only that, last year we got a 2% increase in 2023, and we're expecting another 2% in 2026.
Yeah.
So I'm not far from it if the Lord should give me grace. So how can I not be looking after my own self?
Franco, these are some of the things that we need to. So sometimes people hear the budget and not understanding, the language of the budget. So that's why I'm happy tonight that we were able to speak the Lakou language.
Yeah.
So every ordinary man who's out there listening can understand, what the budget means and what is in it for them. Because every person in Dominica has a share in the budget.
But I had to look to see what is in it for me, Cecil. Remember, I've given 38 years of service to the state, So when I heard 45 million, you're not retired yet, Franco. So when I heard the 45 million is there already, I said, thank God. We have a level of safety.
Someone is on the line. Let's see what the person has to say. Good evening. Good evening to you, caller.
Good evening, Cecil.
Good evening to you, sir.
Cecil, you know what they're calling that budget? That's a Lakou budget. A Lakou budget. That touching the man by the bay, the man under the cliff, the man, the fisherman. That touching everybody. Cecil, which government that ever gives civil system 2% for housing? Yeah, you ever heard that? Which Caribbean island that 2% ruling for civil servants, for nurses, for firemen? I mean, a long time I was saying to myself, boy, the essential workers, we need to look after these people and make them proud and make them happy. And that's what we have to do. Once you can make the essential people like the police, firemen, and make them happy, Dominica will be a happy place, the nurses, doctors, Dominica will be a happy place. But what I'm trying to tell you, we always have to give thanks to the NEP workers. Never, a lot of people looking down on the NEP workers. I remember the opposition was looking down on NEP. Oh, these guys they cut this, that they doing, and as these are low grade kind of people. We must learn to understand the roles of certain people when they play. It's like the person that cleaning the toilets, the person that cleaning the road, the garbage man. We must learn to respect these people. Garbage don't pick up for 2 weeks, a month. We have health problem. We have all kind of pests and things going to take over. And someone was looking on. Mr. Old Garbage Man. That man is a man you have to respect because he plays a vital role in not diseases happening in the country that are happening in the country. NEP, I respect this. When I see these people, I will smile, man, and say good morning and what blah blah. They come by me at my home, I give them certain things. The rubbish men when they pass, I give them a bottle of punch. I give them bread if they want it. I call them for things at my home and hand it to them, and make them feel good and know that they're important. These are important role they play. But some of us, we like to look down on people. Oh, you just in a bank, we there. So we looking down on people. But at the same time, if the police don't look after us as security, the same big house and the big sofa you have in it, thief will come and thief it. They'll come and thief it in your drawing room and you have no peace. So those people there, you have to learn to appreciate them. And I'm telling you, I give thanks to the visionary movement of the Prime Minister that yes, we can settle. We as a people have to learn to love elderly people. These are the people that were babies, they were teenagers, now they're elderly. Learn to respect them and do good for them. Look at that. Look at teachers. We playing down and not respecting teachers. But all of us in the country are supposed to have a great love and respect for teachers. I can't tell fellas that you're a lawyer, who teach you? A teacher teach you to be a lawyer. You. So don't come and when you see your teacher, some fellas will pass in their teacher, they're not telling them good morning, they're not telling them I see in Solufa. And when I see Solufa, good morning, sir. I am telling you, I am selling by the road. If Solufa passed 7 times in a week by me, he gets a juice, he gets a piece of cake from me. Whatever he wants, he gets. And no, sir, don't pay. You do enough for us. That's why I tell you, look at Brain. I respect Brain. Brain gave 40 years of his life in education, and someone was watching Brain and wouldn't give Brain a drink when he passing on the road. I wouldn't tell him, so, teacher, come for a drink. But that is me. When I see my teachers, I deal with them with love and care and respect. That is me. I don't know what other people. But that is me. When I see them crossing the road, I go, I hold there and I cross the road by Orchard. I cross them, pap. But whatever they want, they get from me. That's what it is. These people have to respect these people. Because lawyers, doctors, teachers are teachers only to be lawyers and doctors. And some of us, we don't respect in them and we don't have love for them. You're supposed to have enough love for teachers. And I always tell them, government, increase the salaries of teachers, man. People can't pay teachers, That vocation. You can't pay teachers to teach your children to make them big men. And after a while, you're teaching your children to disrespect teachers. Man, I have a great love for teachers, policemen, nurses, doctors. I want my government to treat these people right. You see the NEP workers? A matter of fact, I'm making a suggestion, Cecil. The Ministry of Tourism, during the budget, should put an allocation of funds for the NEP workers. Because without the NEP workers, the visitors will come and the place will be in bush. The streets are dirty. They're not clean. But the more the NEP can work on our flowers and let the place look, the aesthetic of the place looking good. Hey, the Ministry of Tourism, I'm telling you all, make allowance in the budget to supply the NEP workers with finance because they help the tourist industry to look good. That is my suggestion. Lord, you can go take it if you want, but that is one of my suggestions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. No, we have to also make people be aware that the NEP workers are not only the people who are cleaning the roadsides or making our environment clean. There are other aspects of the NEP. Yeah. Right? There are other aspects. There are teachers. There are people who are working in offices.
I know. At the start of the NEP, there was an architect. Somebody come back from Trinidad, an architect that got engaged under the NEP, and the idea of the NEP is to position young people in particular, to gain experience in the workplace, and they can move on. And there are many examples of young people who have been engaged, permanently, by employers in the private sector.
DBS is an example.
And even in the public service. Exactly.
And even the Prime Minister's office as well. You have people who are in the NEP. I
So
know.
so the thing is that there are some people among us, all they know is to criticize and to oppose. Criticize and oppose. And that's all they do.
No, also too, Franco, we need to look at the second area in which in reference to the recurrent expenditure was given, and that's the Ministry of Health. We have heard so much about
Yeah.
health.
Yeah, we have not even touched that yet.
we have not
either.
even-
How much they got?
I think health got $72.8 million.
Second largest.
Second largest.
Franco, anything
which
on
is
health?
about 10.7% of the allocated amount.
What happened in health? Yeah, you have anything on health? What was the situation
Yeah,
with the minister?
Jerry, of course, I'm the minister. The minister spoke on the health sector, and and even a cursory look, Brain Cecil, at our health our health facilities, a cursory look, you can see the significant improvement, that has occurred in our health services. Of course, we have issues. Of course, we have challenges. We do not have all the expertise. We don't have everything that we need. But compared today, and I was telling people that I lived I raised and grew up in Loubier, and when the doctor came in the area, the doctor would go to Point Michel. That is where our health clinic was. If there was somebody sick in Loubier and could not go and find themselves to the health center, the family would put up a white flag on the building. So the doctor on his way back from his clinic in Point Michel would know that there is a sick person in that area.
Just take a call quickly. Let's hold that for I want to hear that story. Good evening to you, caller.
Yes, we have been listening to that program.
Hey, my comrade.
Yes, brother. Brain, let me touch on you. The last person who commended you for your efforts, I want to join hands with them also. I really don't care what people say about you or how they look at you, but I think you have been giving your contribution, and you need to be respected for who you are. Everybody are unique in their own way and form, but when it comes to respect, people should give you your respect for your contribution towards the country. And you're still there, and give thanks. Let God bestow His graces on you for many more years.
Thank you.
I'm just thinking about the NDP, central government and all that stuff. Cecil would probably be able to give me some more insight on that. We have the people in forestry. We have the people doing that, the fortnightly work paid people all over the place, cleaning the drains, not cleaning up the bush and stuff. Can we amalgamate the forces with the Roseau City Council, get that thing off, and just collaborate one conservative ministry to have everybody under one umbrella? That's my thought. That's what's eating my brain.
I like that. I like that. That's a good concept.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Honestly, I love
Thanks
that
a lot.
concept. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Brain.
I like the concept as well. Very interesting.
The issue of NCDs, came up in the minister's address, and we know the Prime Minister has been championing, the combating NCDs. And he gave a very frightening statistic, Cecil. He said 3 out of every 4 deaths, came as a result of NCDs. Okay? And that government is concerned. We all have to be concerned because it is a debilitating matter, not only on the human resource, but really on the state. And government, they're launching several new initiatives or major awareness program. Well, a major awareness program to promote food literacy and health choices through nutritional labeling, school partnerships, and increase access to locally grown nutritious produce. In addition to educational and promotional activities, government will conduct screening of students for NCDs, physical activity campaigns, mental wellness outreach, and parental education. Government, this spoke about what they're planning to do in this fiscal year. We'll address these and other matters with concrete action. We'll appoint that's for the hospital. We'll appoint a full-time executive chairperson to strengthen the governance, accountability, and transparency, and to assure overall the delivery of high-quality patient care. In addition to the post of CEO, we shall appoint a clinical director who will have the equal rank of Chief Executive Officer, reporting directly to the Executive Chairperson. This individual will be responsible for overseeing the clinical and medical services and to ensure that we can address patient concerns in a proactive manner. We'll engage an accreditation coordinator for the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. We'll establish a patient support unit at the hospital. The medical professional bill and nursing and midwives bill will be presented to Parliament in September. The new structures for the nursing service, which was established in the last financial year, will continue to be implemented. And 11 new medical specialist positions will be created effective August 1st to ensure that all specialists are appointed in permanent positions.
And that's this week, eh?
Yeah, that's Friday.
It's Friday.
11 new medical specialists, and that is a massive contribution.
Yeah.
It's a big addition to the expenditure, but it is required. And government would not have gone into that in their eyes closed. They would have done all the
Research.
all the statistics, the data collection, and knowing fully well that we need it, And of course, an upgraded remuneration package will be approved for the medical specialists and other medical positions no later than August 6th, a week later. Yes, so government doing couple things and the health services. On top of that, we should not forget, the 12 health and wellness centers, that were recently constructed across Dominica. We should not forget the $53 million, brand new Marigot Hospital, that was constructed. So we have the Marigot Hospital and we have the Marigot Health Center, okay, and the improvement done at Castle Bruce, at Laplane, and Granby, and in St. Joseph. To the health and to the health facilities.
Maho.
Yeah, Maho.
Maho. Yeah, one of the things that jumped to my mind whilst you're there, I noticed that we're going to be getting some new trucks for solid waste. Whilst we're talking health, we have to talk about waste disposal as well. In the area, I noticed that there are a couple trucks that's on the way. We'll be getting some trucks
this week. Yeah, there are two of them arriving this week. There are four of them later down. And government doing a couple of things there to address solid waste. The operational efficiency of the institution needs to be looked at, and the minister spoke about that, because the equipment has to be maintained in a certain way. From where I am, I'm just casually watching. I'm not too sure. I can say that. That the equipment is taken care of. For example, I live on a hill. Okay, I live on a hill, and it boggles the mind to see the trucks loading garbage from the bottom of the hill and climbing the hill, and go beyond me. It would have been so much easier to come down.
That's right.
To come down. So there are issues. But one of the things the minister said as well, and that's futuristic, but it is critical, it is important. We have to begin speaking about what role you and I can do, to better improve the collection of our waste. We are waste generators, and the quality of our waste has changed. We no longer, most of our waste, is before. When we grew up, and put it that way, most of our waste was organic. A ripe skin, a mango peel, pawpaw, those things there, that we dispose of, in the backyard or in a compost heap, whatever it is. But today, we have more plastics, we have more cans, and so the time has come now when you and I have to begin talking. How do we contribute more to the management of our waste? Government has spoken about looking at another landfill. I'm sure it's not like flipping your fingers on a small island like ours with limited land space. We have to be careful about the siting of a waste, especially now our people are aware. Nobody wants to have a solid waste in their neighborhood. government talking about a waste for derelict vehicles, an area for derelict vehicles. So all this in a huge program, that that they putting together, that will begin to address our waste disposal,
and what I
waste
like,
management and disposal.
What I like also in terms of the budget, it's very clear that they said that they will be looking for a special dump site for old vehicles and tires and large appliances. That
especially
for me,
in the area.
Yeah, that for me.
In the area of tires.
Because I think now more than ever before, solid waste needs to really have the law a little bit tighter. Because people, for them, rubbish is rubbish. Rather than trying to separate, and that's what causing some of the problems that we are.
Right, because a couple months ago, we had a serious issue with a fire in the landfill, especially when it comes to tires. Tires got caught up there, and these tires send toxic waste in the atmosphere. So the new landfill and areas of disposal will have to address the situation of shredding our tires, finding a way to shred the tires to minimize the effect of this storage of thousands and thousands of tires in the landfill. Because what I heard the manager of solid waste say is somebody may have issues and go in there and light the fire. So that issue of disposal of certain types of waste, more specifically,
I don't hear somebody. It has to be factual.
Well, that's what she said in the news.
I mean, that's
what she said in the news.
Yeah, I'm not saying I need things to be factual. If you have cameras, you have caught the person. If there are cameras, get the police to arrest the person. Outside of that,
well, especially in the area of solid waste and the disposal of certain waste, the dumps will have to be secured. And as you mentioned, one of the areas would be securing it with cameras, so people will see actually who coming into because these are supposed to be high security places, especially we have certain types of waste being disposed of.
We have to begin developing a culture of managing the waste at our home. Okay, as I said earlier, we use a lot of canned or the different packaging for our stuff. Like say a tin of sardine. You use a tin of sardine. There's nothing wrong in rinsing out the tin of sardine or the corned beef or the milk, whatever it is, and put it away, keep it out. The animals wouldn't be attracted to it because there's no smell there. So they won't scatter it. Right? So it's because we just open a tin of sardine, extract what we need, what we want, and just put it in a plastic bag, put it on the roadside with all the smell, the fresh smell in there, attracting the animals. They will go there and dig it up. But if we begin to do that at the house where we live, if we begin to remove the organic material from our garbage and open backyard compost heaps and put it in there. I see no reason, for example, why a truck I have to go all the way to Wesley and come back with banana peels, or with anything organic, to the landfill. This thing should be able to be done. And here goes an opportunity for a business person to go into compost making. Compost making, and government is promoting backyard gardening, vegetables. Here we go. You produce the compost, you can sell it because there is a corresponding program encouraging people to do vegetables.
What do you think for solid waste themselves to do a project in reference to composting, right, to the European Union and to not composting, sorry, to how you call that, incinerators? What do you think about creating that
energy? The energy to run those incinerators.
We are now going to geothermal.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. I had the privilege of visiting an incinerator in Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it is a tremendous amount of energy you need. Although the waste itself, can be used, to generate energy for you, but it can be done. But again,
the cost.
Again, our smallness, our volume of garbage may not be able to support even a small scale facility.
I see a friend of mine in Martinique, Mr. Moplezi, went to the European Union, got this, and doing a mincemeat out of it.
Okay.
Let's go to the telephone quickly. Good evening to you, caller.
Good night.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Cecile.
Good evening.
Cecile, you're talking about sanitation. Let me tell you something. I witnessed a man took the rubbish from his home, and when he go and empty it out in the one by the wayside, he empty his plastic bag into the large one, and he go back with his empty plastic. What is a plastic for it to throw? You understand me, no? Instead, he throw the rubbish and go back to his home and use a new one in his rubbish, in his dustbin. He come back with all the freshness and all the nastiness back to his home. He's finding it is impossible for him to throw the rubbish, do away with the plastic bag. So he is destroying the environment, and he's still putting back nastiness to his house. Say, to my pop. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Cecil, there was a time when solid waste. I've met a lot of people who say that they are prepared to make a contribution, as we're doing before, towards solid waste management. I remember going to the office for a long time, on a monthly basis, and pay my $20-$25, whatever it is, a month. But that thing, I think since Maria or thereabout, just went out of the window. But the minister said, and I agree with him, the time has come when we have to have a conversation, a national conversation about how we manage our waste, how we can more effectively manage our waste. The landfill has outlived, outlived its viable lifespan, long outlived. So we really should be looking at a new landfill, and it will take years, decades perhaps for a landfill, an old landfill, to be able to be used over again.
Franco, do you believe that if we take 50 cents, $1 from everyone's salary in a month, that it can help in sustaining? I said help, the operating word. In sustaining some of the efforts of solid waste?
It can help, but I think it will only be targeting working people. There are many people who are not working, who are not in a formal employment system,
right.
Who also generate a
lot of garbage.
A lot of garbage, and they will not be in a position to collect. So the thinkers have to sit down. How can we be realistically collect some resources that can be used into managing our waste?
Yeah.
Again, we can only repeat what the minister said, the national conversation.
Yes.
You'll bring in local government, you'll bring in the health people, you'll bring in the finance people, you'll bring the business people.
Members
together,
of the community as well.
Yeah, the
National Youth Council.
Yeah. Let us talk. The schools, let us talk. How can we better manage our garbage? Because as I said earlier, our garbage, the quality, the type of garbage is no longer the organics, that will dispose of within a day or two. Plastics, and styrofoams. You bury a piece of styrofoam today. Come back in 500 years, it is still there.
It's still there, yes.
It is still there. And you can burn it, because if you burn it, you're going to release toxins into the atmosphere.
I like the idea that they said that they would like to decentralize the collection of garbage, and they spoke of the fact that trucks will be in various districts, so maybe in the hands of local authorities. That I like that concept. Instead of, as you said rightly,
taking a piece
Franco,
of garbage from
taking a garbage from Wesley
to bring it down
and bring it down to Rosewood. I mean, we have to now look at decentralizing, and create these districts and give the local authority a little bit more power, in the whole development of waste disposal.
Well, that's a conversation. I think you're right, Franco. I think the minister is right. We have to have a national conversation.
Yeah, the management of solid waste the world over. The world over is is a tricky. It's always fraught with a lot of anxieties, because, for example, if you look at some of the islands around us, let's look at like Antigua, for example. To move one nation, Antigua Barbuda, one nation. To move waste say from Antigua to Barbuda or vice versa, it's a lot of problems because people don't want the waste in their
backyard,
in their neighborhood.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go to the telephone quickly. Yeah. Good evening.
I'm going to be brief. Cecil, we have our two French neighbors, Guadeloupe and Martinique, and I'm focusing more or less on the disposal of our tires. Over the past, we have seen an increase in importation of vehicles. And vehicles there's a need for tires on all vehicles. But let us first begin the process of how we should go about disposing the tires. I think the importers or the wholesalers or retailers, they should be held responsible for the disposition of the used tires and the rims. You can recycle tires, and you can also get scrap metal from the rims. They do that where I am located currently. We have the two French territories. How do they dispose their used tires? Can there be an agreement between our neighbors that the retailers or importers of tires would pick up money or collect money, a better word, when you buy the tires? They would put that money into a government fund, and if that bilateral agreement with the two French neighbors would come into fruition, then we can export the tires on a barge or something to either Martinique or Guadeloupe, and that money collected should be totally responsible for transferring those tires to one of the neighboring territories for disposition. Because too many vehicles, and the more vehicles you bring into the country, is the more tires. Dominica doesn't have space to dispose tires, and the landfill, as Mr. Charles said, has outlived its period. It's dead. It cannot take more.
Thank you.
We need to do something. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I can speak for Martinique. I know in Martinique there is an area for tires. There's also an area for derelict vehicles. Now, they too are stressed, and they are stretched.
Cecil, I think I mean the caller is making a point there, and for me, my response would be: I see a wonderful opportunity for business.
Yes.
For business.
Yeah.
Okay. Dominica may not have the volume of tires, that say a recycling plant, say in Latin South America or Europe, America, can do viable business with. But the islands can come together, and to ship it out, the same way we're doing our bananas, because I do not see government role is to keep the country clean, and they require the assistance of the rest of the people, to do just that. So, couple of businessmen come together, put their money where their mouth is, and start a business, to recycle tires. We started that with paper and something else.
Bottles.
But I don't think we have the volumes, that a medium-sized factory or recycling plant over there, would want to do business solely with us because they don't want how many tons per week or per month that we can supply.
No, as we're coming to the end, because it's already 2 minutes after 11.
Already?
Yes.
Wow, time flew.
I would really want us to do talk a little bit quickly on the minimum wage and the
Cecil, I'm going to leave you now because
yes.
I really have to leave now.
All right, so I think we can
wind up.
So we can wind up then. So give us your last words. I really wanted to talk about the minimum wage, but if you have to go, and time is against us.
Yeah, there are so many things we did not touch on that budget there. But Cecil, thanks again for inviting me. As I said when I came in, normally on a Sunday evening, I'd be relaxing at home, preparing for tomorrow. But once you call, I just figure out, well, I should come here and assist in the education and the awareness program. I thank you again. Thank you, Brain. For the interaction there, and we look forward to the debate tomorrow. The start of the debate tomorrow. The Mr. Anthony Charles will respond.
How much time he has been given?
The same time.
3 hours and 3 hours. 3 hours and 7
3 hours. And let's see how he deals with it, and then the other members of the House will respond thereafter.
The ministers are given 1 hour. How? 1 hour.
1
and the senators
hour. The Prime Minister has an hour and a half.
30 minutes. Yeah.
And the other members have
30 minutes.
And what time we start? 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Okay.
So we wish them well. The budget will be passed, and then there'll be hope and scope for a new era, in our development. Cecil, thanks again, and Brain, you take care.
Thank you.
Brain.
Well, my final word, it was very interesting and interactive in bringing the budget from a Lakou standpoint, making it very simple for the ordinary man on the street to understand. And I think we did a great job in articulating the budget in a very simple manner. And as we said, the theme is one of it is sustainability in a modern era of economic development. That's how I would proceed. Thank you, Cecil, to be with you tonight. And Ronald, do have a safe trip back home, and looking forward to hearing you tomorrow.
I just want to say thank you also to Brain and Franco again for making this discussion very easy for our listeners out there. The language is important, and the understanding of the Lakou is also important. So I am happy that we could put the relationship between the Lakou and the budget. Before I go, there's someone who's on the line who wants to say something to us. Good evening to you, caller.
Yes, Cecil, before you go, I want to give a little message to you. I would really like to see that program you have come on a program, let's say, on Monday night on Cairo FM, because you listen to different people with different ideas, and that's what develops a country. The government alone will never have all the answers. If you listen to the different callers, the way they bring in the packages, when you compile it together, it can make a difference, because all the ideas, the politicians cannot do all the work you're saying, as what Mr. Charles was saying. A lot of the private sector have to come on board. You have a very dynamic man there, Mr. Brain. Look at the level of work you have done in educating the people. I think that's why I was telling Mr. Charles, I think the government have to realize now, even some of the work, like supervising work to government projects, it could be done by private people. Let's say, for instance, architects.
You have to try to wind up here because it's already after 11.
Yes, I'm just trying to tell you that is one of the things the government, you there can always advise them. Like I was just telling Mr. Charles, I believe the Prime Minister needs an office, public office with some people to represent the local people. For instance, the indigenous people, the Rastaman and international business. For instance, you have a man like Mr. Goes, Mr. Charles, and maybe somebody up in the reserve to deal with the indigenous people. But you're a powerful guy, and I believe that's your role you're supposed to be playing, Mr. Joseph. Have a good night.
Thank you very much, and just want to say thank you to the caller, and thank you to the listeners and those who viewed us on both on YouTube and Facebook. We want to say to you thank you very much. We'll be again back next week Sunday with another authentic Lakou program where we'll be speaking about the Lakou and the life of the Lakou. Once again, thank you and God bless you.
We have a deal. We have a trade deal between the two largest economies in the world. And it's a big deal. It's a huge deal. It will bring stability. It will bring predictability. That's